Well, hello everyone, and welcome in. Welcome into the Six Screens program tonight. We've got Red Pill by the Watchtower. We got our good friend Eric. He's coming in from Nashville, Tennessee, but he's originally from Rhode Island, and he's on here tonight for the first time on video. So you're going to see Eric. We certainly want you to come in and talk to Eric as well. So let's bring Eric on right now. Here we go. Let's bring him on. Add him to the stream. Well, hello, Eric.
Hi, Rick. How's everyone doing?
So there you are. You're ready to rock and roll tonight. We got a lot of people still listening in from the last program. So I'm going to say we're really glad you're with us. I'm going to cut you loose, and you can take your program away. Okay.
Alrighty. Well, how's everyone doing tonight? It's been a good program. I really appreciate all the authors that came on. It takes a lot of courage and a lot of mental ability too. What you all did, and thank you for teaching people of your experience, and not just experience, but the truth of what went on. But tonight's subject, I thought we'd talk a little bit. I might have brought it up before, but I wanted to talk about really how unconditional Watchtower's love is and what other people's experiences may have been. But when I was watching some of the convention that's been all over on YouTube, what was it? Jesse Morris he didn't kind of, he straight up came down against critical thinking. He was, what I thought about that was this organization is screaming cult, and how can we not see this? How can the people not see it? They want more and more control every day, and I just think how sad it is. I guess Father is falling right in the footsteps. It kind of goes in line with critical thinking. To me, is almost college, or was a college degree at one point, where you went to school and they encouraged critical thinking. And it's just getting to the point now where if you don't think like we do in Watchtower, if you don't think exactly like us, wow, boy, are we going to persecute you for it. It's a nervous laugh, but it's unfortunate what they're really doing to us. But I was happened to watch a video of Mikey and Kim, and they brought up is his name Fitzmeyer? I'm sorry for not getting his whole name right. Fritz Stringmeyer, is that it? But they did a quick video on him, and he was just pointing out all the similarities of the way that the Watchtower, when he broke it down in such a small video of how Watchtower is functioning just like a full-on satanic cult. And when you think about what they're asking the people to do, and what our parents or families or kids or families, I should say, and not taking blood and shunning your families and all these really bizarre behavior that people are doing, and you can see that it's because it's coming from something that's rotten within, and it's every time that they tell us that we're the ones that, or I think David Splains declared war on us and said sometimes there's rot within, and they're the rot within. It's like they self-project all the time, and we all XJW community, now that we are awoken or awakened, we took that red pill. We don't connect with that anymore. We're held hostage for it, or our families are, and just for thinking differently, just for thinking openly. That's kind of why I always, or why I named the show that, just because of how real it was to me when I saw the Matrix and waking up, even in events and political issues I won't get into, but I see the world differently once you don't necessarily always listen to the doctor or the mechanic or the media. Sometimes you have to just do that research for yourself. But I thought how dangerous and how unwise to teach against critical thinking it is for the organization. I mean, they need to do it because they're a sinking ship. But it's just creating a bunch of people who aren't using their brain. I mean, I don't want to call them stupid, but it's close to it. You're not allowing yourself to critically think about something because of how you feel on it or because of how you're told to feel on it, which is even more dangerous. But that was something I got from the convention. Was there something else? Let's see here that I wrote down. There's a lot. There's so much to go through, but a lot of it's all boring, isn't it? And I thought JP did a really good job with Rick tonight. And we talk from time to time, and he was telling me what he was going to do. And it was really encouraging to me, wasn't it, for you guys? I was really encouraged to see the attendance just plummeting. No offense to everyone that's a Democrat, but it looked like one of Joe Biden's one of his not press conference, one of his when he has like a speech for people to show up. Because they've literally done that with some of Biden's rallies. When no one shows up, they'll block off the part of their convention off so that it looks good on TV and it looks like it's filled when there's a whole section missing. I wouldn't be surprised if Watchtower just starts plopping everybody together in the same place. Their numbers are strengthening, isn't it? Good news. It was really encouraging to see JP show us that, and Rick too, showing us the proof and evidence of all that. It's not that we want to see him burn, right? And it's just that all of us have so much emotional and so much health, physical, any kind of pain. We have a lot of pain from this organization, and it's not that we want revenge. I think it's more of just justice and truth to be revealed. These guys are just allergic to saying I'm sorry, like Dan and Angela on their channel. They always say he would always say, just say you're sorry. But let's see what else I've got here. Sorry guys, just reading something real quick. They also who was it? I didn't get the guy's name, but there was a statement that was made at the convention, and he said that there is, without a doubt, I'll read it word for word, that we are living in the last days. So how should we respond to our environment? Now is not the time to be dormant like a tree in wintertime. Now is the time to be active and ready for this system's end. And that kind of seems like what Rick was almost talking about earlier with the new brochure release. That they're basically just they're doing the same thing that they're always guilty of. To me personally, I feel like it's a false prophecy just to say that we're living in the time of the end. I mean, are we? I mean, is it for us to say? Does God agree? I mean, when they've been saying it and crying wolf for so long, how the hell are we supposed to be on board? You know, how are we supposed to believe them anymore? I mean, how could you? You know, it's just like that story tells. Eventually, you just don't believe the person anymore until it's too late. And I don't think they'll even ever get it close or right. I don't think God would have it that way. It was foretold it wouldn't, and these people have the audacity to still do it today. Yeah, they won't make a definite date like Rick was saying early in his show. I agree with that, but they still do it when they say that we're living in the final part of the last days, and they're always doubling down on it. But before I move on, does anyone have a comment in the section, or anybody have anything to say?
Hi, Eric.
Yeah.
Eric. Hi, it's Sharon in North Carolina.
Hi, Sharon.
How you doing tonight?
I'm doing good. How are you?
I'm hanging in there. You know, I got to tell you, every time I hear about them saying the end of time, it is so repetitive. And if you look through history, as far back as even, oh my God, maybe a little bit after 70 AD, when they have the those women that used to go into the caves for the Greeks, the Sibyls, it's like every generation has been saying the end of time, okay? And if you look in the Bible, Luke 21:8, it says, those that say the end is near, don't follow them. Because nobody knows when. We could be going on for another 100 years. Nobody knows, okay? And what you were saying before about the shunning, is it okay to tell you about what's going on in my family right now?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. I have a sister who's a pioneer. Okay. She sent me an email when I woke up in 2012. Do not ever contact me again. All right. So now all of a sudden, she's the one who's like a major shunner. She doesn't speak to anybody who was dunked. She will not have anything to do with you. I mean, I lost my youngest. She had asked my other sisters, because I'm oldest of 9, you know, can I go to Sharon, you know, to see Raina before she leaves? And they had asked me, and I said, you know, she's more than welcome to come, but I don't want no Watchtower talk, references, nothing to do with that organization, because my daughter had made her peace with the father. I didn't want any of that. Okay? She never came. So that makes me realize the only reason she was coming was to preach that garbage to her. Okay? So now she's supposedly having these health issues, and she put up a meme and XJWs that she's like tentatively speaking to them now. You know, when your family ignores you, it really hurts. You know, and this is the girl who has been shunning everybody, and now all of a sudden she's on the other end of the stick, and she sees what it feels like. And I'm not relishing in this, because I love my sister. I want my sister to wake up. But to see what she's doing by putting posts up that she's got this illness and that illness, and no JWs are responding to her, maybe 3 or 4, it really hurts.
That's
I'm
awful.
just hoping that this kind of trauma will wake her up, that is not your family. That is a cult family. You have real family that would welcome you back. Just get off that Watchtower high horse. You know what I'm saying?
Yep. I know exactly what you're saying. It's frustrating.
Very, very.
It's frustrating to know the truth. And you said that she was shunning you since 2012?
2012, yeah.
Would you consider her like extreme with it, with the shunning part of it?
Oh, yeah. Oh my God, yes. Let me tell you, I had this, because we never celebrated birthdays and holidays, right, when you're a witness. So I threw a grandma party, because my grandmother was never a witness. And I invited all my brothers and sisters, and 2 of them happened to be disfellowshipped. I was still in Watchtower at this point. So they all came. She came too, because I was still a witness. So every time one of the disfellowshipped brothers would walk into the same room that she was in, she would leave. Never said a word to them during this whole party. And then we had, because I lived on Long Island, and a storm came in, and her car got stuck in the mud. And who do you think helped her out of the mud? My 2 disfellowship brothers. That's when she finally spoke to them, but they wouldn't speak to her at that point. They just helped her, and that was it. Because I knew they were hurt.
Yeah. It's really wrong. I feel bad in a lot of ways. Like I do and I don't. But like it feels like the witnesses aren't getting love from each other, and the family members that they had love with, like you and I, our families threw us away. And it's like at the end of the day, your disfellowship brothers were there to bail her out. Not
Right.
not the Christian congregation.
No, and it's really, really sad, because when I woke up, I said to her, I love you. I'm your sister. I said, you know, all it takes is an announcement from that podium, and they will walk over your body. That's what they will do. And that was 11 years ago when I woke up. But, you know, I think it takes a trauma to wake people up, because that's what it took me to wake up. I was in for 53 years from the age of 3, and it took a trauma to wake me up. And I think maybe I'm hoping that with them ignoring her, that maybe she'll wake up and see she really does have family, and it has nothing to do with ink. It has to do with love.
Oh, for sure. For sure. I was going to say, when you said that she was extreme, my mother-in-law is extreme with it. And my mother-in-law's sister, so my wife's aunt, she committed suicide from the disfellowship arrangement, and my mother-in-law is so extreme with it that she knew that, because I think so it would be my aunt-in-law, but my wife's aunt. I think that my wife's aunt was disfellowshipped maybe 2 or 3 times, and one of the reinstatements, my mother-in-law had her over for dinner, but in her family, but she wouldn't speak to her because it was the night of the announcement for the reinstatement letter. And that's just like how extreme she takes it. It's almost, my wife and I both feel like that. Both my mother and mother-in-law, they enjoy the shunning arrangement quite much. They just like it a little too much, and they don't feel conflicted with it in the slightest. It's almost like they get off on hurting us or punishing us, if you will.
Yeah. I disagree with a lot of the ex-JW community when they say that, there's really good people in there. No, there isn't. As far as I'm concerned, no, there isn't.
I know.
Because with all the news coming out about the pedophilia, all the news coming about how people are committing suicide because of the shunning, how can you say there's really good people in there when you know that an announcement may lead somebody to either murdering their entire family because of the shunning, or they commit suicide themselves? To me, there's no black and white in that. I mean, there's no gray. It's black and white. Either you're a good person and you're out, or you're in and you're evil. Because how can you stay in that organization? I mean, let's face it, how can you stay in there with all the flip-flops? It's insanity. It really is.
A lot of it is mental illness.
I get frustrated because I get very frustrated with the amount where we are in time, with the amount of information out there. There is no excuse for ignorance and just following kowtow after a bunch of men who never held a job, who don't know anything about the world, anything, because their needs have been, catered to. They're like freaking kings. They never had to worry about anything. And how you can follow that, it is mind-boggling to me at this point. It is just mind-boggling. And I don't mean to sound so frustrated, but I get very frustrated with this.
I think it's healthy to get frustrated for all of us, and you come across it in a way that you're not raging like Rage Against the Machine, if you will.
No.
But we all.
Eric, I pretty much stay away from the cards because I know my limitations. I know them, and I won't put myself out there. Although Thursday of this week, I was about maybe 20 feet from 3 women at a cart, and I was speaking to a friend, and I exposed them for 2 hours straight. They kept pointing to me because they could hear me. And one of them got really mad, and she left in her van. But I just kept it up. And the woman I was speaking to, her back was facing them, and I was looking directly at them. And I have the type of voice that carries. So I was even bouncing off the library wall, my voice. But I exposed them for 2 hours, everything I knew about them. And I was backing it all up with scriptures, how anti-biblical they are. And the girl I was speaking to, she was just like flabbergasted. She was like, my God, Sharon, I didn't know they were like that. I said, yes, they are like that. And I just kept going on and on. But I would not bring myself to go to them and do that because I can't trust myself not to get enraged. So I will keep my distance and expose them to other people knowing that they're hearing me. So I hope I planted seeds in those 2 women that stayed. I hope I put some seeds in them.
Yeah, I think you talked about this on Rick's show, and I didn't get to talk to you about it, but I just wanted to say that it takes courage to do it. I crash carts, and it's a little nerve-wracking, but when you've got that feisty spirit in you, I know I do, and you probably do too, and you just want to tell the truth.
Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah, yeah. And the truth meant more to me than losing 5 decades of so-called friends. Knowing the truth about the truth helped me. And reading the Bible without their garbage literature, that helped me too.
And we also got to learn what real love was, kind of my theme tonight. But it's just like Watchtower's love is so conditional, and it's so, because it's so, the love is controlled almost. It's like Watchtower will tell you, well, this is how you love. We'll tell you how to love. You know, you're not, and we'll tell you if the love that you're willing to give is acceptable to Watchtower standards. And it's creating an army of monsters that are just going along with it, like some of our family members. And I think that's why maybe you and I feel like there aren't good people in Jehovah's Witnesses. It's more like just because after all these years of being part of a satanic cult, that association has spoiled the useful habits of the people that we love and the people who are trapped. It's giving them
Right.
bad personality defects, even bad personality disorders and mental disorders. You know.
Yeah.
I didn't want to cut you off, but
Think about it.
Oh, go ahead.
When Christ was on earth, he said, "You may have heard, hate your enemy, but I say, love your enemy." So Watchtower pretty much sticks with the Old Testament. They're not in the New Testament, except for the gloom and doom. That's the only places they're in.
But then they use the Old Testament. You're right, because they use the Old Testament and the New Testament basically as a weapon on how to control us. You know, if something doesn't make sense in the Old Testament, they won't use it for them personally. But if it does make sense, even though they admit that the Old Testament is abolished, they still use it anyways if it benefits Watchtower, like the two witnesses.
Right, except the almighty two-witness rule, that they'll forever keep.
Yeah.
The caller's right. Can I tell you what she said about saying that they're not good people in the Jehovah's Witness religion?
Sure.
It takes a lot of courage to say that. And you know why? But it's really easy to understand because she's right. Because Jesus says only our Father is good. So you see, words mean things. So when you and I, Eric, say, "I'm good," or she's good, or he's good, we're not living in reality. We're giving a false sense of security. The reality is we're not good, and only the Father is good. Jesus was right. So then you can actually admit, you know what, I'm not good. And harboring pedophiles and shunning, that's not good too. You see, once you accept the fact that you're not good, and it's not trying to beat yourself up or to belittle yourself, but words do mean things. And so when you have this false sense of security by saying, "Oh, we're good, they're nice, they're good." No. Jesus says only the Father is good. Because he was trying to put us back into reality. And Jehovah's Witnesses live in that false sense of reality. Why? Because they throw Jesus' word aside. But the caller's right, and we're not saying it that they're not good because we're angry or we're hateful.
Right.
No, the facts are the facts. And that's all we're saying. The English language, good means something. And I know I'm not good. I want to be good, but I'm not.
Well, yeah, good comment. I mean, we all strive to be, but like, who are we to judge who we are? We don't. That's up between our Lord and Savior and God. Is someone trying to get through? Hello.
Yeah. Hi, Eric.
Hi. How are you?
Yeah. Hello, Eric.
Yes. Can you hear me?
Yeah, good. Thanks. It's Tim calling.
Hey, Tim,
I'm calling from Australia. So I just on what the last two callers said about being good. I suppose to correctly term it, you might say good-hearted or good-intentioned. I kind of am of the. It's just my opinion, but I think that if you're still in the organisation now and you haven't woke up, it's kind of like an alcoholic. You have to see the problem and self-address it. No one else at this point is going to help you. And any person that is good-hearted to a degree, that really wants the truth, I think they'll discover what's going on and they'll get out. Otherwise, you're going to be in there for life at this point. That's just my opinion anyway. And I just wanted to also touch on that other thing regarding the critical thinking. Just my opinion again, the way they kind of frown upon critical thinking. They literally mirror the way the world is now, I suppose, without going in depth. But look at, COVID narrative or, climate change. At this point in the world, if you don't go with the accepted narrative, you're not allowed to. They basically, shut you down, silence people, censor, and witnesses, as usual, they kind of copy lockstep what the governments are doing. On the one hand, they say, the government, media doesn't tell the truth, yet on the other hand, they do exactly as the media does. If you've got a dissenting opinion, they don't want you to look elsewhere. They want to be the only source of information. That's the truth, and there's no room for debate. And it's kind of funny how often they do mirror the world that they kind of say that they're not part of, in my opinion.
I totally agree with you. I mean, from their standard of being the world, it's almost like, Tim, this organization couldn't be more part of it for them to claim that they are neutral from it.
Yeah, there's just a few outlying things, but and I kind of touching a little bit on what Rick was talking about and how the assembly attendance is down. I'm thinking it's probably a lot of people leaving, but part of that is how much they embrace the COVID narrative so much that they're literally the biggest fearmongers there, that they're the last place to open back up. I'm pretty sure they had mask rules in Kingdom Halls and all that type of a thing. So you probably got some of the people, in such a state where they're probably scared of having big groups again. That's one thing I was thinking. And then the other thing I was thinking is, are they kind of like trying to streamline their things, downsize all the assemblies and maybe have more of them, as a so-called matter of safety or new direction? That's just speculation, but it kind of sounds like something they'd do as a way of, to get past the thing that their crowds are dropping. Maybe it will fool the people into thinking, our assemblies are deliberately smaller now because it's safety. I don't know. It might be a thing as well.
Yeah, for sure. Were you talking about specifically like with the badge? Was that what you were saying?
Oh, yeah, and just how the falling numbers at their assemblies, clearly people are leaving the organisation, but I'm also wondering if it's partly their own doing is part of it because, they fearmongered so hard on COVID and people don't want to be in crowds. Is it, or is it part on, have they got some stupid new arrangement that's, it's all about safety, smaller crowds, we can't do the big ones anymore, and by the seams of what that guy was saying, that JB that went to that assembly, it's like they're full on interrogation for anyone that's not a familiar face.
Tell me about it. I actually can't. I can believe that Watchtower is doing that now, but it wasn't like that before. I'd say in the 80s or 90s, early 2000. This is Alex Jones. In Love Him or Hate Him, he calls Jehovah's Witnesses. He doesn't say much about religious organizations, but he said, they're paranoid Christians, and it was a powerful statement that he said, because that is what they are.
I love the guy, actually. I heard him say something brilliant not that long ago. He goes, he was talking about God, which he does a fair bit these days, and he goes, God, Jehovah, whatever you want to call him, he goes, do you think he's really going to be hung up about a name? And I was thinking exactly, like the witnesses, like, it's so important to call a name. I'm of the opinion, well, a lot of people don't call their parents by name because they think it's a sign of disrespect. So is it that respectful to even,
Yeah, that's a great point, Tim. Really good point, right? My father's name is Martin. How many times have I really called him that? Never, right? And
yep.
A lot of people say, well, Jesus never used a name. He always just called him Father. I'm like, well, if Jesus is the Son, then that kind of makes sense. I don't want to get into that too much, but I know everybody has a different opinion on faith.
No, I agree. Yeah.
That's a really good point.
No worries. I'll let someone else talk now. Thanks. Good talking, Eric. Thank you.
Oh, thank you. Thanks, Tim. Come on anytime. Was there somebody else that wanted to talk? And then sorry, Sharon, if you weren't done talking. Well, all right. I can move on a little bit here. If nobody has something to say. Oh, there's someone coming through.
Erica, he was talking about how the world is today.
Yeah.
And, I put down in the chat that in the chat section I put down I did a video about 2 years ago, and it's called "We Were Lab Rats of the New World Order," and that's what we were. We were lab rats, and they experimented on us, the shunning, and who was it? The New World Order. It's on the Bible, the New World Translation of the Holy Scriptures. Read it backwards. The Holy Scripture is translated by the New World. And so we were one of many. When you think about it, and I based it off of a movie called Three Identical Strangers, where they separated three triplets and they were studying them. It was so evil what they did, but they were experimenting on three babies. But the point is that we were one of many. And now when you see all of this similarities in the world about shunning, cancel culture, stuff like that, and you're like, why is the world identical to the Jehovah's Witness that I grew up in? Because it works. You see, it works. You and I were part of the experiment. Same thing with the bloodless surgery. Well, the doctors needed to practice on somebody. Well, they practiced on Jehovah's Witnesses. It has nothing to do with religion. We were the lab rats. And they practiced on the Mormons. They practiced on the Adventists. They practiced on the Catholics.
Wow.
Alex Jones and others have talked about how even the Communist Party of the 70s and 80s in Russia was infiltrated by the globalists. So Watchtower was infiltrated in the days of Noor. That's why they gave them the New World Translation. The New World Translation was there was no. You got to be crazy to think that Frederick Franz had a writing committee. A translation committee. He didn't even speak the language. Everybody knows that he testified under oath in Scotland that he didn't speak the Greek language. So there was no translation committee. It was handed. Everybody now knows that the New World Translation was handed to the Watchtower. It wasn't translated by a group of. There was no scholars in Watchtower. Ray France was not a scholar. But the point I'm trying to make is that it's so hard to believe that we were part of the experiment. And now what you're looking at on the news every day is Operation Jehovah's Witness. It's weird. It's Operation Jehovah's Witness because it works.
We used to get talked about on the news, and it would be like maybe some light jokes here and there, And now the news, this isn't just like, I know they want to think it's persecution from apostates and Satan, the devil, or whatever they come up with, but this is facts that's happening, and it's coming out, and it's the jokes are getting harder and harsher because these men are making, let's just say it, asses of themselves in front of all of us, blowing that match out like Tony Morris did, and even let with the crazy eyes. I mean, we look at other we look at other cult leaders that are acting and doing similar things that they're, and they're a part of it. They talk about Babylon. Go ahead.
Check this one out, Eric. I was fighting with this one guy on this channel. I think it was a Linda James thing, and he was talking about the parousia. Matthew 24:3, parousia. That is such a crock, and let me tell you why. Because the very next words are the new system. Tell me, when the presence of the new system? So what that is equivalent of is you burn down a building in one corner, in the corner of the street, you burn it down, and everyone's looking at the burning building called parousia. Meanwhile, the bank on the other side is being looted. That's called the new system. So Watchtower is laughing because all of these Bible thumpers are thinking they're smart, and they're talking about parousia. No, the word is called the new system. Jehovah's Witnesses are the only religion that use the New World in their Bible on the cover and the new system in Matthew 24:3. You see, the point is that Satan lied to you in your face, but he told you the truth also. He said, You will not die. You will not die, Eve. So he's lying and telling the truth. You're not going to die today.
Right.
That's the truth. But you are going to die. And see, that's how the evil works. And Alex Jones even talks about that, how they have to tell you the truth. So Watchtower is telling you the truth. It is a new world translation for the new world. It is a new system of things. They never think about Jesus Christ. And that was my argument with that guy. These people are satanic, and when they mention the new system and the new world, they never, ever were referring to Jesus Christ and his second coming. They're referring to their God, the globalist agenda. So this is how evil works, Eric. Evil is going to tell you the truth, like Bill O'Reilly says, with a spin. The spin stops here. That's how, so everything Watchtower tells you is half truths. You know.
At this point, it doesn't even feel like half truths anymore. It just feels like a bunch of lies. They barely even give you any truth anymore. I know there is truth in some things they say and teach, but these days, like JP was saying, that the Bible is hardly even there at the convention, and everybody, like the guy was shocked. The attendant was shocked that he had a Bible instead of a tablet or whatever. Like these guys have gone digital with their relationship with God, pretty much.
Well, Eric, if you think about it, this is Sharon again, they have it downloaded. So whatever verse they want to change, it's right there at their fingertips to change. And they go directly against the last book of the Bible. Do not be adding, do not be taking away. And that they go directly against it. I mean, this is what I was saying Thursday to this girl. I said, how can you, number one, they're not allowed to research. Except Watchtower approved literature, which goes against 1 John, which says, beloved, make sure that you are not deceived. You have to research, test the spirits, because many false prophets have gone into the world. And to coincide with that scripture, you have 1 Thessalonians 5:21, make sure what's good. So how are you going to be doing those two scriptures when you got the guys just, okay, we don't need this scripture no more, like in Mark, the one verse about where the worm doesn't die and the fire is never quenched. They took them out of the Bible. Why would they do that? Because they don't believe it. So let's just hit this button, delete, delete, delete. We don't need these verses no more. They don't push our doctrines. So let's just take them out. It's just where we can keep holding that carrot, the new system, and we're not going to be giving people any truth. And yeah, they're going to give them a half truth. But if you do not have the Savior in your heart, you are not going to figure out what is the actual truth, because he's the only one that's going to help you with the Holy Spirit. And that's how I feel. And that's what's helped me, knowing that I have those three, the Father, the Son, the Holy Spirit, to help guide my path. And let me tell you guys, I will never say a prayer out loud, because whenever I have prayed out loud, the JW show up. When I have prayed silently, my prayers have been answered. So you know who's listening when you're praying out loud and you're saying the J guy. You don't do that. You have to do it in the secret chamber of your heart, so you know who is answering you.
Yeah, I get what
agree with that.
Hi, who's this, Debbie?
Hi, Eric. It is Debbie.
Hey, thank you, Sharon, for sharing.
I was just thinking about what was said a minute ago about when I put two and two together when they started talking about this New World Order, and I thought, oh my gosh, the New World translation, the new system of things. That's what I was saying. We've been an experiment. It's all been an experiment. Just trying to see how many people they can deceive, just like they did with the COVID vaccination. Wait, we're not supposed to talk about that. But anyway, so many people were misled into thinking something bad was really good for them. And so it's like a half-truth. It appears one way, but it's really something else. But this New World Order thing and the New World Translation and the new system of things, I'm thinking, man, this has just been one humongous test. And we were the test subjects. And apparently, about 8 million people failed it for a long time. Well, I mean, no, followed it, actually, for a long time.
Debbie,
And
don't forget
accepted
this.
it.
Debbie,
What?
this is Gilbert. Don't forget about this one. The magazine that Watchtower had was called Awake. Don't you see? They're
Yeah.
at you and me. Don't you see? They're
That-
telling us the truth, but that's how satanic, demonic people work. They're giving you a magazine called Awake, and Wednesday morning, the governing body is laughing their asses off, smoking their stogies, and it says we gave them the Awake magazine. They bought it. It works. See,
Oh
we
man,
are
I
the
hadn't
guinea
even
pigs.
thought of that one. That's a good point, Gilbert.
Yeah, I have a whole bunch of stuff like that, but
I know you do.
it takes courage. It takes courage to believe that you were lied to. It just takes courage. That somebody that you
Yeah, Rick said something the other day. There's a quote by Mark Twain. It said, "It's easier to be fooled than to believe you've already been fooled." You get it?
Amen.
That is a
It's hard
Again.
to believe we fell for something, hook, line, and sinker. But you know, even since I was a little kid, I've had questions, about stuff like when they would tell us when we were going door to door, and I would say, "Oh, why? So we're selling magazines?" And they said, "No, we're not selling the magazines. We're placing the magazines." And I said, "Then why do we ask for money?" Because to me, that was the same as selling. But then, of course, then they said, "Well, that's to cover the cost of the printing." And so you just have to be okay with that. And then they said, "Oh, we're not here to convert you." That was a total BS lie, because that's the only reason we went door to door, was we were trying to convert everybody we possibly could. And if we could get one foot in the door, then we would try to get a Bible study. Then you get the Bible study going, then you invite them to the Kingdom Hall. You get them to the Kingdom Hall, they get love bombed. Once they get love bombed, they think they've got all these wonderful new friends that truly care about them and their eternal future. But then once you get tricked and get baptized, then you find out, uh-oh, I stepped into a booby trap, and I'm caught, and then reality hits. And hopefully they'll all wake up before it's too late. And I'm so glad so many of us have woke up, awakened, or whatever the right word to say.
I agree, Debbie. It's always nice to be awake, even with the consequences. But yeah, someone trying to speak up. Go ahead. Was someone trying to talk, or was that you, Debbie?
No, I thought Gilbert was trying to talk again.
I thought somebody was trying to talk.
I'm just listening to you guys. But hey, Debbie, you like that Awake magazine? Now you look at it from a different angle, huh? All of you.
Oh, totally. Well, it used to be called the Golden Age.
Yeah.
I'm trying to put that with something and make sense of it now.
And now they barely even have
It
any.
makes a lot more sense.
Well, for sure.
They gave the Awake magazine to a religion that was asleep.
Yeah, thank you, Gilbert. Yeah, for sure. This religion, or this, I can't even call them a religion anymore. I mean, Norway doesn't. They are a cult, and
And they
go ahead.
and they were giving you spiritual food, and they were telling you the truth. But what they didn't tell you is that the food was tainted with spiritual salmonella.
Mm.
They were
Yep.
feeding you.
Yep.
They were
But
feeding
you
you
they
spirit.
also tell us that they feed us food at the proper time, and they use that parable or whatever scripture that is, or whether it's a parable or not. But first of all, when do they get to decide what the proper time is? And the Bible doesn't say spiritual food; it says food at the proper time. I mean, they're always ad-libbing things. They're always taking out or adding in. I've seen too many scriptures that the witnesses or their Bible has been just remade, and the Bible says don't go beyond what is written. And I guess the witnesses were like, "Well, nah, we're gonna do it anyways. We're gonna have our own spin on it."
Or it just doesn't apply to them. It applies to everybody but them.
Yeah. They've it's gotten to the point where I feel like every time they say Jehovah, they're talking about themselves, because they've become Jehovah. When they say Jehovah is not real enough to these men, or God the Almighty, and if he was, I don't think they'd be doing this. But in a way, I do feel like that they're being worshipped like gods. When people are just listening to them blindly and nothing's waking them up one after another. We know that a lot of people are leaving, but we know people like my family is not going to leave, not most likely. It would take something very significant and big to get them out. But that's a part of like being, all of us, our families, they have that sunk cost. I guess Debbie and Gilbert and everybody listening, we all have dealt with the fact that we were duped, and our families can't deal with that. I guess they're too invested in it, or they don't want to hear the truth of the truth, you know. But does anyone have anything to say?
They have blinders on.
Oh, yeah, they got the blinders on, don't they, Debbie? Well, I was going to.
It's like when you are leading a horse, or when you're riding a horse, they have blinders on, and that's so they can only see what's in front of them and not on each side. So they could be walking next to a cliff and not realize how close they are to falling off. Well, it's just like with the witnesses, they have blinders on, and like the Watchtower Society says, don't, do any research other than what we say, and this and that. So, yeah, they totally have the same kind of blinders that we put on animals that we don't want them to see. Otherwise, they can see the pitfalls all around them and see the truth about the truth.
But if they look at what the truth is, then they will have to admit that they were deceived, and JWs have too much pride in their hearts to admit, oh wow, I was deceived, and now I got to tell people I was deceived, I was wrong. They're not going to do that unless they humble themselves in their heart. And as far as the experiment, when I was doing the research when I first woke up, I came across papers from this company. I can't remember who it is because it was years ago, but they were testing the blood products on witnesses, and in quotes, it said that they had willing participants in the Jehovah's Witness community. That was in quotes. And I was dumbfounded when I saw that. And I didn't know how to download. Otherwise, I would have downloaded it and had proof of it. So I left that on my screen all day, waiting for my grandson to come home to show me how to copy that, because it wouldn't let me copy and paste it anywhere. And that was the day I learned how to download.
So you have that on where you could.
Sorry. Well, anyways, I don't know what happened there, but if anybody else wanted to give a comment about what we've been talking about, or I'll bring up another subject. Well, all right, we'll move on. Oh, someone coming through.
Oh, Eric.
Yeah.
Yeah, Eric.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, hi, it's Tim again. Just real quickly,
Yeah,
just an interesting thing that's kind of we touched on just before, talking about the witnesses. This might have been missed, but I was reading or listening to something of theirs in the last year, and if anyone that's been like involved with the witnesses years ago will remember how they used to say, you know, United Nations bad, you know, they're the pretty much the wild beast, I'm pretty sure. Yeah, well, now they were literally saying stuff like the United Nations has the same goals that we do, except we're kind of looking forward to God's kingdom. And I was thinking, are you guys for real? Like, you don't know. You obviously don't know what the United Nations is about, but it's kind of, it just shows how far they've come around. Yeah, because like I kind of hadn't really been involved for well over 20 years. Only kind of 2 years ago I started, around the time of COVID, I started listening to some of their stuff again, thinking, oh, well, I'll just filter out the rubbish and it'll be a bit of Bible instruction. But I just couldn't listen to it for too long because it's just so far gone. It's all about the society, the brothers, you know, the governing body, and very little about God anymore. So, yeah. But there's little things that they say that, you know, you prick your ears up and think, you know, that's a big change from years ago.
Yeah, and Tim, you remember when they were talking about the UN being so bad and everything? They were actually members of the UN when they were talking about them like that.
Yeah, I found that out later too.
Yeah. You said, you're the one that said a minute ago that God wouldn't get hung up on a name, weren't you? Yeah.
No, exactly.
Just like the witnesses always made a big deal about whether Jesus was on a cross or a stake. And I thought that was stupid because it doesn't matter. It was a piece of wood and he died for our sins. If people want to believe it's a cross, that's fine. If people want to say it's a stake, okay. It might be that in different language anyway.
Yeah, that's my thoughts exactly. And even to go a bit further, they'd always like, oh, would a person carry out a gun? You know, that if it reminded of someone that was killed by a gun, it's such a stupid analogy because a cross is like, okay, a person that carries a cross may well be doing it to remind them of what Jesus died for, to forgive them of their sins. It's got nothing to do with that. This is his murder weapon.
Yeah, it's not. Yeah, totally different.
Yeah, you guys are making really good points. You know, I mean, like you can just tear these guys apart. It's and it's not in a disloving way, but it's just they're unraveling themselves, and we can see through them, and it's almost like you were saying earlier. It's like you have to. I got baptized because I thought I'd make my parents do right by my parents, make them proud. I was serving God. I didn't know I was serving a bunch of men that think they're serving God. I didn't know I joined a cult. I didn't know. I think a lot of us did. We feel duped, you know. But if we would have been
baptized, it was in the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. They changed it to being to God's earthly organization, I think is what they said.
I think so.
I was never baptized into the Watchtower, not in my eyes. I was baptized just in the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. I wasn't dedicating my life to Watchtower. In my eyes, I was dedicating my life to serving Jehovah and Jesus Christ. Period.
Yep. And in fact, when I went to get baptized all those years ago, I was supposed to be baptized at 17 years old, and it was supposed to happen at an assembly, a circuit assembly. But then I didn't get baptized because when I went through the questions, one of the elders there, he asked me, do you know who runs Jehovah's earthly organization? And I said, no. And he said, well, it's a pretty big deal. You can't get baptized unless you do. So he passed on me. He failed. I got flunked. I was a kid, and I kind of cried when I went home because I'm like, I got denied to be a servant of God because I don't know who these men were at the time. This was the 90s, like 98, 99 maybe. But that should have sent warning. That should have been the red alert. Get out. Something that wasn't making sense to me, but I got baptized anyways a year later, and it was at a district convention. And I now looking back, it's like I dedicated myself to 9 assholes that are never going to give a crap about me. Sorry to say it so plainly, but these guys are never going to care like we cared about them when we tried to do right by their organization. Now we know it's not God's. So sorry if I'm rambling on. But anyways, there's just no end to what these guys are doing to us. And when they talk about love and they talk about patience, when do they ever show us love? When do they ever show us patience? I think that the convention is called something about be patient, right? Sorry if I don't have the name out in front of me. But then they're not patient, and then they tell you to be patient, but then they tell you not to be patient. It's like when it suits them, and it becomes gaslighting. It comes to the point where I feel like Jehovah's Witnesses personally are some of the biggest gaslighters that have ever existed. They're constantly telling us things, and they're just putting us in a circumstance. The fact that critical thinking is being banned now is really scary, because if someone loses their ability to think for themselves, then that means that they're just going to do as they're told, no matter what. And especially if you bring God into it and they believe it, like we all believed in it, but then things weren't making sense to us, and we had to bail from it. But
Eric, this is Gilbert again, and I think I'm saying, but you're thinking like a normal person, and you have to think like a crook, like a governing body member crook. You kind of like put yourself in their shoes to kind of get an idea. And I ran this past Rick months and months ago, and I think about a couple of times, and he liked this. But what I'm trying to tell you is this: Watchtower is coming up with these crazy teachings, and everybody's like, debunking their the overlapping generation, yada yada yada. But maybe, just maybe, they're trying to get rid of everyone. Because if you can think about this, if you can get rid of all of the old elders, all of the old timers, it's easy to steal the property because you got rid of all of the old guys. It's easy to transform the religion because they know that the Jehovah's Witness religion is dead. And so in order for you to transform into something different, like a televangelist religion or something, you need to get rid of people. So I told Rick that all of these crazy things that you see coming out of Watchtower, like Stephen Lett and Anthony Morris, all of these crazy stuff, maybe they're doing this on purpose. They want to go down in numbers. They want to get rid of everyone because they need to transform into something different. What that is, I don't know. But it's just a theory that I had. That's
a good idea, too. I mean, but you're saying that.
Members,
or maybe they're just stupid. I don't know. But I'm thinking you have to think like the crook to catch them.
Let's think like what's the newest headline? And I'm sorry if this is controversial, but the Bud Light we all know that they have crashed. They're no longer the number one selling beer because of a strike or whatever you want to call it, or whatever. Not strike, but what do you call it? My brain fart right now. But anyways, protest, because of people have protested. this company is no longer a
Yeah.
giant, and it doesn't seem to bother them. And Disney the same way. They're doing propaganda to our kids' cartoons and stuff that's inappropriate, and they don't seem to care that their stock has plummeted. These companies that I'm mentioning are losing Target, losing billions of dollars, and they don't seem to care. Is it all about agenda? Is that what Watchtower's come about? It's not even money anymore. It's not even about being right spiritually. It's just about their agenda and them being successful from it, and that's it.
And hold on a second. And also, by doing that, they have sworn their allegiance. They pledged allegiance to the globalist and to the republic for which it stands. So you see, so Bud Light has to pick a side. Shall I pledge my allegiance to the American people, or shall I pledge my allegiance to the New World Order? So let's say they lost $1 billion. Well, simple. The New World Order would just put $1 billion in the computer screen and transfer the money. They'll just invent it. And we know that's happening right now. People are just inventing money. And so Alex Jones says, they stole quadrillions. They just invent this stuff. And so Watchtower, Bud Light, Target, they have put all of their eggs in that basket because they know something is coming. We don't know what's coming, but they know something is coming. And they're saying, I'm going to put my lot with you, the globalists. Whereas other people are saying, I'm going to put my lot with the American people. I'm going to put my lot with so-and-so. Everyone is picking, and it kind of sounds like what Jesus said, like there's a separation going on right now between, the wheat and the weeds. The people are being separated right now, and people are actually picking sides. And Watchtower has already picked their side.
But it's like it's nothing
that goes along with what
things. But they think only to be a Jehovah's Witness. But what you're talking about is on a broad spectrum, correct? Like you're talking about everybody, not because Jehovah's Witnesses look at that scripture as them personally. Oh, well, like they're gonna, like Jesus is going to sort out the wheat and the weeds. Who's a Jehovah's Witness and who isn't? And that's a bunch of malarkey, basically. Just to go along with what you were saying, Gilbert. Well, thanks a lot, man.
Broad spectrum of people. I was just going to say, to add to that, with Bud Light and Disney and all that, it's got to do with the ESG score, which is that whole globalist rubbish agenda. And it might be worth looking into whether the witnesses are involved with that, because I think on one of their developments, they've got some ESG, environment sustainability score for that new developer at Warwick or something like that. So they're way on board with all of that globalist trash. So whether they're of the same thinking, they don't care if they lose members because, they're going to they're sustainable, they're going to get loans in the future, guaranteed when the CBDC comes in and all that rubbish.
Yeah, that's a really good point.
A lot of that stuff with Disney, Home Depot, Target, and all of that has to do with the woke people. The transgender, and that whole LGBTQ, whatever. I can't remember all the letters. But anyway, there's a whole section. A lot of it is because of the drag queens and being reading stories to the little kids. Plus, now in kindergarten, there's already books about, well, if you don't want to be a boy, then we can turn you into a little girl. And they can do all this and talk your kids into changing their sexes without even talking to the parents. They can even, in some places, take your child to the doctor to get them hormone therapy, to block their hormones for whatever. Like if they're boys, they can block their testosterone. If you're a girl, they can block your estrogen and stuff. And they don't have to tell your parents anymore. But all of this is really encouraging more transsexualism and stuff like that. And
Well, that's just the tip of the iceberg, Debbie, because the end goal is transhumanism, where we are no longer made in God's image. We're made in the image of the beast, which is the devil.
mhm.
That's what this whole thing is. Because you got to
That's
remember,
right. I didn't.
they hate us because we're made in God's image. That's why that spirit realm hates us. And they will do anything they can to thwart God's original purpose, including the American popes, also known as the governing body.
So Eric, this is Gilbert. I'm just trying to
100%.
quick. Eric,
Yeah.
do you know why the Jehovah's Witnesses do not salute and pledge allegiance to the flag? Because they have already pledged allegiance to the new world in their Bible. So that's why. So why can't I marry this girl? Well, because I'm already married to another woman. Watchtower is already married to somebody. That's why they don't pledge allegiance to the flag. They have already pledged their allegiance, and in their Bible, they tell you they pledged their allegiance to the new world.
Yep.
I mean, I'm going down on this. I mean, I'll fight anybody on this. To me, it's clear as day. That's why we don't salute the flag, because Watchtower salutes.
We are anti-American. I've never thought about that, Gilbert. I think that's a really, really good point. Because like now that I've left Watchtower and I'm free from it, I actually I'm now starting to be ashamed of being American a little bit, just because of the almost the civil war that we have going on. I'm not saying there is one, but there's just a lot of problems in our country right now. But it's been a good country, and we've been blessed living here. And we have a lot of laws that help us and give us freedoms, and they didn't protect us from cults, though. And maybe you're right, because they were a part of the biggest cult of them all, our government. I think it's a really good point, man. I mean, I look at everything differently. Even the right to be a gun owner, Watchtower will tell you that's not acceptable, unless you're in Maine or somewhere in the country with a shotgun and you shoot a deer. They're ridiculous sometimes. And think about that.
There is a great documentary
the government control guns.
The Belly of the Beast, and it's done by the Fall Brothers, and it tells you about the other side of the United States, why we have freedom of religion. And it wasn't for all religions to be free, it was for the satanic religion to be free. If you ever get a chance, check that out. It's called Belly of the Beast, and it's by the Fall Brothers.
The Fall Brothers? What are you saying? What brothers?
The Fall Brothers, F-A-U-L-L.
F-A-U-L-L. Okay.
It's a documentary called Belly of the Beast, where they are doing the swearing in of the president. Behind the scenes, they have Osiris rising. They have documentation, and it's all right there in the Library of Congress, everything that I'm telling you, because they show everything. And it just blew the socks off me when I saw that, thinking that here we were freedom of religion, because I always believed it was Christian and Jewish, but it's not. It's satanic. And when you see that, it will put our country in a whole new light, and you'll know exactly who this world totally belongs to. You will totally understand when Christ said that he is the prince with the principalities and he is the God of this world. You will totally understand it then.
It seems like I've seen that, the Belly of the Beast. I wanted to write it down. Do what?
With Tom Horn. He's one of the Tom Horn. He's one of the people that also tells about the documentation. And he shows you, he brings people into the Library of Congress, and as he's going through what he's saying, he is showing you the documents. This is this is and it's right there. And people just walk by it, take pictures, they don't pay attention to what is there. And it's like we've all been in a daze, like we've been sleepwalking our whole lives because we're not thinking. And I think what you were saying, Eric, critical thinking, you definitely need that. You need that to be awake and know what's going on.
And don't you agree, Sharon, that we owe it to, like, as Jehovah's Witnesses, we owe it, and I think Debbie talked about this, we owe it to be honest, and we don't even know what we're talking about when we go in the door. And Debbie was saying we lie, actually, and we do. We lie, oh, we're not here to convert. And it's just, it's so obvious that it looks like that we were all raised from a cult. Why would we lie about the message?
Think of that song from the think of that song from the 60s.
Sorry.
Smiling faces tell lies. Think of that song. Next time you ever get a chance, listen to that. Listen to the words. Smiling faces tell lies. And it's like, oh my God, this guy had to be a witness to write this song.
I think it was, just to give a little comedic break to our points. I think it was Eddie Griffin, and he has a comedy bit. I think it's older actually, and it's about Jehovah's Witnesses because he was raised as one. And he's like, man, they got too many books. The yellow one, the green one, the blue one, the purple one. It's like God, what does he say? It's like God forgot some things, and they said, we'll pick up where you left off. And he talks about what it's like being a witness and what it's like for the community, how they would all they'd all tell each other, oh, those J-dubs are coming. It's Saturday morning, let you know. Close the doors. And it's funny to hear. Now, as a witness, if we heard that, we'd probably turn it off or feel uncomfortable. But being awake, we're like, everything he's saying is true. One of his funniest jokes is he says, man, and Jehovah's Witnesses don't do birthdays or holidays. He's like, every time my birthday came along, I felt like Biggie Smalls. Birthdays were the worst days. And it's refreshing to hear somebody actually just talk truth, whether it's comedic or not, or just some of the people and the authors that gave their experiences tonight. What was that girl's name? Pony, I think, the gal's name. I thought she had a really good experience when she was saying how she changed her name because she doesn't even feel not experienced, but she changed her name because she doesn't feel like she belongs to them anymore or feels a part of them. I feel the same way too. I won't change my name, but I've thought about it. It's like I don't feel connected to Kubler or Matarese or even my first name anymore. It is who I am, and I can't change that. But it's like I don't feel like that's what the witnesses do to you. They almost feel like you're not family anymore, and that goes out to everybody who's.
Well, think about it on this level, okay? Why would you celebrate somebody's life on their birth where they may not serve the J guy the whole life and they're going to be killed anyway? So why even celebrate them? Because they put certain walls around hearts for people to feel for their loved ones and their children. That's what they do. Why would you celebrate this person being born? You might not know them next year if Armageddon comes, which is a place, not an event, and they don't even remember that.
True. It does. Yeah, you're right about that. There's so many things that they got wrong with the Bible, doesn't it? It overwhelms you,
Yeah.
Well, we're kind of, just so the audience knows, we're kind of having a little discussion here, and if anybody wants to chime in at any time, they can. And I'm new to this, and I don't know how to look at the comment sections, but I promise that the more I do this, I'll figure it out, so I can answer some of those next time.
Hey, Eric, did I drop out when I'm
Hi, Eric.
They got two people coming in. Who's first? I don't know.
You go, Gilbert.
Well, did I drop out when I was telling you about the world, that we are now part of the world?
A little bit. We heard
what happened. So what happens is like when people come into the United States, like the diplomatic community, and they commit crimes, drunk driving, rape, or whatever, but they don't go to jail because they have diplomatic immunity. Jerry Loesch did the same thing in San Diego, when he was talking to the judge, and he was saying that he has nothing to do with Watchtower, that the Watchtower and him are not associated. And people are like, what the hell is he talking about? Well, what Jerry Loesch is trying to tell you is that he is no part of the world. He has diplomatic immunity. The Pope has diplomatic immunity. You see, there really are two worlds, like Jesus said. And the world that Watchtower lives in, the leadership, and the Pope and political leaders, that's one world. So when Watchtower tells the Jehovah's Witnesses, we are no part of the world, all of the Jehovah's Witnesses think that we is all of us, we. No, The governing body is no part of the world. We, the governing body, are the spirit anointed Christians, that they call themselves. We're not part of the world because we can get away with this. We can get away with the lies. We can get away with the thievery. So Watchtower does tell you the half truth. They're not part of the world, just like the United Nations are not part of the world, and they get away with the crimes through diplomatic immunity. Have you ever thought about that?
Yeah, they really have. They are criminals. They're criminals that get away with it, that have their the government's backing somewhat. There's a lot of things that you bring up. You have Gilbert. You have a really good critical thinking mind, and if you listen to Alex Jones or I don't want to put words in your mouth, but other people that think critically, it rubs off on you, and then you start to do it, and then you protect yourself too. The one thing. Sorry if I'm getting off topic. What were you talking about? But like when you're talking about New World Order, and the Jehovah's Witnesses being similar to it, or them being a part of it, and that they can't be anything else. Well, why are they pushing the jab so much? That's a government thing too. They don't want you to be a gun owner. They don't want you to they want you to be compliant, wear your mask, they want you to do things that are your own conscience matter and none of their goddamn business. Pardon my French. It's just none of their business. What we decide especially for our health, why are they getting involved? And that's something the government's doing right now too. They're even telling you to get it.
Yeah,
sometime.
but they've always done that with the blood. They've always been involved in our health.
Well, yeah, with the blood, for sure. I'm a hemophiliac, and I have to have a blood fraction. And nowadays, there's a few different ways to get my medicine. It can be done like a diabetic, or it can still be done through the vein. But they don't even use blood fractions anymore. Nowadays, they use the DNA from a hamster, I think, or whatever factor 8 that you're missing from your body that still cells. You get it from a hamster, basically. There's no blood involved with it. It's bloodless now. Think about if at one point they did not allow blood fractions. I think in the 60s, 70s, 80s, somewhere around there, or 80s, 90s started to switch over and be a conscience matter. But think about all the lives that would have been lost even after that. And for what? For them to come up with the medicine that wasn't used blood anyway. None of it really makes sense. Even if you had an opinion about the blood transfusion, shouldn't it just be an opinion and not an offense to where you're all right? So you're already in the hospital, you're sick, you might die, and on top of that, you get a life-saving medicine, and now you've died to all your family or friends spiritually in a way, and now they're gonna cut you off, so you're as good as dead, and you wish you probably did die. That is a sad outcome. I don't know what they were thinking in doing that. Is it population control, Gilbert? Is Jehovah's Witnesses just completely bought into the New World Order, to our government pushing this new agenda?
Okay, I'll answer real simple. In my gut feeling, this is my gut feeling, that the leadership and the powers that be at the governing body and all of the other members that are part of the leadership of the Jehovah's Witnesses, they're not Jehovah's Witnesses. They have a different religion, and they're part of the globalist religion. You see, the globalist is a false religion. A regular religion has a Bible or a book or something, and they operate like the Buddhists or the Hindus, like a normal religion. This is a different type of religion, and so you have a religion within a religion. That's just my gut feeling. I have no proof. So the leadership has sworn allegiance to the New World Order, to the globalist religion. And their day job are Jehovah's Witnesses. That's their day job. And so it's not about money. It's just about power. They're a completely sick group of people. Because how else can you explain it? This is sickening and this is maddening. That's just so my gut tells me the leadership is part of another religion. They're not Jehovah's Witnesses. Jehovah's Witnesses are just their day jobs. They're doing the bidding of the religious order. That's just my opinion.
I'll add to that too, if I could.
Yes, sir. Yeah, Tim.
Yeah. Yeah, it's Kim again. Sorry. Yeah, just to add a couple of points to that. I mean, they seem pretty compromised because, like they did jump on board with the jab and push it pretty hard. And I was thinking to myself, well, okay, we know that pharmaceutical companies they lobby and pay off people. The witnesses control a good 8 million people these days, and they're more effective than communists because communists can do it by force. Witnesses literally have the control without firing a shot, without any form of violence whatsoever. So that's a pretty effective means of control for anyone paying attention. I'm kind of thinking, well, they seem to have taken on board the jab pretty well. So was someone getting money out of that? And then, I've lost the train of thought for a sec. Sorry. No, they do have a lot more control than what other people do, and they haven't had to be violent. Oh yeah, that's what I was going to get onto. And you don't have to, just to see how much they control. Like regarding the jab, like people. So this is just coming back from people that I personally know. When I talked about it, this is the literal comment that I heard off at least 3 different families. They said, oh, well, we got the jab because we figured if it's good enough for the governing body, it's good enough for us. So there's a heck of a lot of people that are taking on board everything these people say as pure gospel and going along with it.
Yeah. Isn't that scary, Tim? It's really scary because it's almost like they have blind obedience.
Yeah, blind, especially when they're especially now they're starting to say things like, if you don't see something wise from a human standpoint, it's like, okay, come on, when I heard that. But I'll even just get back on just a slight variation. Getting back onto the jab, that was when I started listening to their updates, and I was thinking this is a load of rubbish. Anyway, I was listening to one particular update at the time, and it was talking about safety at work. And it was going, well, you follow safety guidelines because, the Bible says you build a fence around your roof, so you don't fall off. And it was kind of some practical advice. I thought, yeah, makes sense. So they're basically saying you follow safety procedures because you're not thinking to yourself, well, I don't need safety because God will save me. That's presumptuous. So now 2 months later or a month after that, they start talking about the jab, and Splain literally said this in his governing body update. He goes, Jehovah wouldn't allow us to have a vaccine that would kill us. And I'm thinking, aren't you the same guys that said about not thinking that way, to use your brains, like to put safety things into place, and then you're just turning, oh well, that's the reason it's safe. Typical governing body contradict themselves within, a month or 2 apart.
Same sentence. Same speech sometimes.
Yeah. No, that's when I started thinking. And I actually rang the Bethel in Australia and I said, do you realise that people are taking on... I said, I don't know. I was giving them the benefit of the doubt. I said, I don't know if they realise how influential they are, that people might be taking their advice literally. I said, if something goes wrong, they're literally blood guilty. And the guy was, no, he was really dismissive. And I thought, okay, obviously they are aware that people take on their advice, and they fully know that people listen to everything they say. So it's actually just, just even the topic of the jab, to go out there and instead of just doing the right thing and saying, look, make your own mind up, to push a certain idea, it's just like being reckless with people's lives.
Yep.
It's after midnight, so we can say something about the Bible now. But anyway, the Bible says that Satan can turn himself, make himself look like an angel of light. Well, when he does that, he's disguising himself as something good. but we know he's really bad. But we might not be able to see that until after he shows himself to us. Well, like with what we were just talking about with the shot, and them saying that God wouldn't give us a vaccine that would kill us. Well, all of that was disguised as something good, but people didn't realize they were supposed to have had informed consent before they took that. And I don't think anybody was given, or if they were, it was very few, were given that form that they were supposed to read and sign before they took that. And informed consent means they were supposed to have been told ahead of time the side effects and the possibility even that it could cause death. And I know a lot of people swear by them, thinking that, but the thing is, there was only like a 1/10 of 1% of even catching it when you know, COVID exactly. When they took the amount of the whole world population, they, oh heck, I'm having a hard time finishing this thought. But does anybody know what I'm talking about? Somebody else, what I'm thinking.
Well, no worries, Debbie. I think what you're getting at though is it's just none of their business to give us health advice. And who are they anyways? You know, I think there was some guy. His name is JP, not the JP from our program, but he had a video. JP Sears, I think his name is, and he goes, "I don't know about you, but when I need medical advice, I go to the Apple Store because Bill Gates is telling us what to do with ourselves." You know, and the governing body's doing the same thing. They're telling us what to do with ourselves. I don't want to get on the jab too much because I know it can be. I just don't want to say that certain negative things about it. Not because I believe in it. Is just because I think Rick has had problems on his show sometimes with YouTube. But I think we're safe right now with what we were saying. But just to let the audience know.
Yeah, I shouldn't have brought that up.
Oh no, you're fine, Debbie. Too. I was just I'm the one that brought it up, the jab. You know, and I just was thinking about it after. But we can talk about it. It's just I think we're not allowed to say certain things about it, like where it came from. That's all.
Yeah.
But really good points. I appreciate Gilbert and you, Debbie, and Tim for a lot of good points that you all made about the connection with the New World Order. And I thought since Tim was from Australia that I'd just give a quick shout out to Brad from Australia. I don't know if he'd be mad at me for telling everybody this, but he hurt his knee pretty bad, and he hasn't been too comfortable with it. And it's always good to hear from him. We talk or chat a lot on the phone, on the WhatsApp. But you know, one thing I was going to say, or even ask Tim or anybody from Australia, do Jehovah's Witnesses still, as a collective, buy into it? Because I see Australian people a lot different than Americans. You guys don't buy into a lot of crap that we do, and America has changed quite a bit. I think there was even a discussion one time, and there were a couple, maybe it was Tim and Brad talking about how America was a place that Australians would want to go to, and now it's like, there's so many problems here. It's not as desirable anymore. We've changed as a nation. But one thing I appreciated about Australians is that you guys are more straight shooters. So I always wondered if Jehovah's Witnesses were a little different there than here. Or a little bit more willing to hear the Australian Royal Commission, or if they're just as brainwashed as the rest of them. Because even the news is more realistic in Australia. I listen to it sometimes, and I think Sky News is a major one that you guys have, and it's mainstream. I don't even think it's as respected as some others, but it's like 10 times more honest than America's news would ever be. A lot of our mainstream media. But anyways, I know I digress talking about that. But we just see how even the witnesses, they say, well, don't trust the media when it's convenient for them. You know, they have no problem talking about it when, what's that guy's name? I can't think of his name, but there's a spokesperson and it's basically paid advertisements. And he's lying and saying, oh, we don't shun. I can't think of the guy's name. He's got glasses and he's got a tan. But anyways, y'all probably know who I'm talking about. But I know I'm rambling a little bit. And was there anybody in the audience that wanted to talk about any discussions tonight, or was someone trying to get in?
Eric.
Yeah.
Yeah, Eric. Yeah, it's Tim again. Yeah, I think you were talking about Robbie Hendricks III, the propaganda man for the witnesses.
Yeah.
But anyway, regarding Australian, so Sky News is the only one that tells somewhat truth. Unfortunately, it is pretty everyone else is pretty brainwashed here in Australia to a pretty bad extent. I would nearly say that in the US, more people are switched on, even though I follow a lot what goes on in the US, and it seems very polarized. In Australia, most people do follow suit with the mainstream narrative. I can't speak for witnesses. I've only spoken to a few. But, I mean, there are some different attitudes that I've seen here that I've never heard anyone talk about on any program, ex-witness program. So there's a few things that I've encountered when I was a part of it. You do get a fair bit of materialism. Like, one thing that I noticed quite a bit was literal competition with, if your car's better than someone else, or if you're more wealthy, that actually kind of is a bit of a thing. And it's really weird. And one thing I noticed as well is, like, I stopped going to the meetings years ago. But one, and I'd moved around that many times, they lost track of me. But when I used to turn up at a new hall, I thought, oh, we'll give it a go. And you used to know in your mind the first question they're going to ask you is literally, so are you renting or have you bought a house here? And as soon as you said, I'm renting, you could see the judgment, like this guy hasn't got much money. You know what I mean? And that was always a thing. It was like predictable that someone was going to say that. And, I just found it really annoying. But I've never heard anyone talk about such experiences on Six Screens or other things, but it's definitely, something that I noticed in Australia as well. And then the other thing I noticed was that you've got like a whole scene that really just turns up to the Kingdom Hall, but outside of that, they're full on worldly. I used to work with a bunch of witnesses, and I will say that they were the dirtiest talking people that I've ever come across, inside worldly or not. The most worldly people were cleanest, Yeah,
in your experience, dirty? They have
no, they just loved like filthy topics. But the thing is,
I see.
Like if you said a swear word, that was bad. If you'd say a swear word, they wouldn't have that.
Maybe like locker room talk, like talking about like you look good, stuff like that.
Yeah, just like kind of, and even to the point, like I'm not kidding here, like often just pretending to do homosexual acts in front of each other. It's kind of like, I used to find it annoying, and I wasn't even going to the meetings. I just thought, you guys, are something else. But I don't know how widespread that is, but I knew a lot of people that were like that. Yeah, they just, I'd think, why do you even go?
That's all the subliminal images coming out.
Yeah, whereabouts in Australia are you from, Tim?
Where I'm living in.
If you don't mind me asking.
No, that's fine. So I live in Canberra, but that's not where I had my witness passed. So I used to live out in the country, and you're talking 20 years ago, and the experiences of working with the workmates like that was in Sydney. Yeah, so kind of back in the early 2000s.
Can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
Are you renting or buying? No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah. Yeah, that was so common. So common.
That was a good one.
It's like, yeah, Brad, is it?
Yeah. I'm from the Gold Coast, and I think actually I have quite a different experience. So on the Gold Coast, where I grew up, swearing wasn't so much of a big deal. Like I've heard them say "piss" on the platform before. My dad swears more than anybody I know. But when you describe Jehovah's Witnesses as being quite loose, yes, that is definitely that is something that I remember very well as well. Homosexual jokes and things like that that go too far.
Yeah, and the funny thing is, the guys that were worldly that we're working with, they'd say stuff about these guys. Like they'd be like, well, one of them actually, the two of them were behaving this, and I had a worldly workmate, and he literally goes, he was disgusted, and he goes, and he goes, or you kind of put him down, and the last thing he goes, that church that you go to, he goes, it's a complete waste of time. You're a hypocrite. And I was thinking, how small must you feel if an outsider notices this behaviour? And I didn't, in the end, I'd separated myself for a long time, but I didn't even want to bring up anything of the witness past because I just started finding that most people had pretty bad experiences with them or knew people that were living kind of like double lives. And I was thinking, well, I'm not even going to bring this up here because it's going to make people view me in a bad light, you know? So much for what they used to say. They'd be like, oh, tell everyone you're a witness. People think highly of the witnesses. I've found the opposite to be true.
Wow. That's crazy. They do that here in America, too. In America, I've worked with a lot of brothers over the years in construction and stuff like that, and they're like a bunch of truckers, you know, they say truckers use language and stuff like that. But yeah, I don't know what the thing is with the homosexual jokes, but yeah, they'd get into jokes like that where I worked at and doing, you know, framing homes or painting houses or whatever. I don't know what the whole thing is with homosexuality, but yeah, they seem to get off on the jokes, you know.
Oh, big time. I used to nearly say to him, I'm pretty sure you're using full-on gay. And they'd laugh at, you're being homophobic. And I'd say, I'm serious, you know.
I actually have a dark opinion about that, about why they do that. My brother, he will tell the most homophobic, most craziest out there homosexual jokes, and I found out that was because he was abused by a man within the organization, and so didn't know how to deal with those the sexuality of all of that, and so he turned super violent towards homosexuals and super homophobic. And so I think because it's so prevalent within the organization, there's probably a lot that use those jokes as like a defense mechanism, as a way of coping.
Yeah,
I know that's dark, but I think that's probably true.
There's also another reason. You want to know what the other reason is? Jesus said, "From the abundance of the heart, the mouth speaks." So I've always knew that if a guy is always talking about homosexuality, maybe once I'll give him a pass, twice. But if that's all he's talking about, that's in his mind and in his heart, and he can't help but talk about it. And it's the same thing with a guy. Yeah. So from the abundance of the heart, the mouth speaks. So there's nothing wrong with a joke here. The joke there. We're all human, but dude, 3-4 times is enough. Yeah, you have a different problem.
I'll actually go so far as to say that I work on construction, and that's why it used to happen. But we actually had, and this is real bad, complaints from people living in some of the houses nearby about what the guys were talking about. And I just kind of be a spokesman for them, and I'd just be like, what? I'd feel really bad even being associated with these people. Like that happened a few times, literally. And it was brought up to me. One guy goes, and what these guys were talking about on the job, he goes, it was beyond. And I'm like, yeah, well, they do that, unfortunately. But, it's like, I just couldn't mentally stand it because, like, I Yeah, I mean, I wasn't having anything to do with the religion, but I still try to lead a moral life, and you know, I just don't want to hear crap the whole time.
And when you know what they believe about homosexuals and how evil and terrible they are, you know that they're not making jokes to jest anyway. You know, they're not good-hearted jokes. They like making those jokes because they think they're the most evil people ever. You know what I mean?
No, these guys seem to look. Well, they seem to be pretty pro-homosexual. That's what I'm saying. Not anti. No, they'd like full on simulate homosexuality all the time. You know, it's like so yeah. That none of them seem to be really against it.
Or maybe,
yeah, I mean,
maybe they're looking for the secret handshake. You know, like like you know, like to find out. You know, is this guy gay? Is this guy not gay? And maybe that's how they find each other. You know, maybe they don't have an app on their phone. I don't know.
Yeah, but I mean, the funny thing is, after I worked with a guy that was a Seventh-day Adventist, and he was the most moral guy that I ever worked with. So, you know, that's the contrast. That's not what they'd have you believe, but that was just my anecdotal experience. Like one guy that was the most honest and most decent guy who never actually used to swear or say anything out of line. He was literally a no, he was a Mormon. Yeah. So, and he was a great guy to work for. So that's the contrast that I've seen anyway.
Wow.
Yeah, with my experience,
I mean,
from where I came from in Rhode Island, it was looking at like the locker room talk wasn't really homosexual. It was more of like there were a group of guys that went to strip clubs, and they all know who was in the in crowd, and then there was a group of guys that would talk dirty about other men's wives, and my wife came up in that conversation. And one of my friends at the time, he was a good friend of mine at the time, but the religion divided us. He told me like things that they would say, and it's pretty bad. And like, this wasn't my wife, but this was another sister who I knew. She was this blonde sister, and she was kind of type of sister to be. She wasn't like real sharp, kind of like, huh? So they like would joke around about like, oh hey, like, you know, she's the type of woman that you could like have sex with. You'd be like, you want to put it where? Okay. Like, these guys are doing, I'm not going to go any darker than that, but they would say some really dirty things about other men's wives, you know, whether it's homosexual or heterosexual. It was inappropriate as hell. I mean, like, I see this at the meetings. Please don't talk to her like that. I think in pictures.
Well, no,
perverts is the point. The pervert, they're all perverts. They are. They've suppressed sex so much that they, you know.
In a plot twist to all of this, a lot of these guys talk the same, but two of them that I've heard of since are supposed to be elders, and like someone told me, oh, such and such is. It's like a shock to me, and I'm thinking, okay, that same guy. It's literally two of them are elders now, and yeah, it's like, okay. You know, they're obviously, anyone can be an elder.
Yeah, my older brother just got made an elder.
I would
My oldest
not
brother
be
just got made an
surprised.
elder, and I was equally surprised.
When I left years and years ago, one of my arguments was, and I was glad I said it, because I used to be very mild in my behaviour towards elders and not say anything out of line. But one thing I said you could get someone off the streets of King's Cross, like, which was a seedy area in Sydney. I said they could wear a suit. I said they could wear a suit for 3 months and say the right things to you guys, and you would put him as an elder. And it's so true. Because I'd seen people like that in my own life that I realised, okay, it's only they've said the right things in front of the right people and acted like they were spiritual, and they're an elder. And it's just, that's all there is to it. Nothing to do with Holy Spirit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I agree with that. I had an issue when they said that the elders were appointed by Holy Spirit. You know, if you've been in a congregation long enough, I don't care if you're a teenager or you're younger or you're older, if you've been in a congregation long enough and have been around these people, and they say an elder is appointed by Holy Spirit, you can call BS on that many times over. You're like, oh no, you knew the right person. You're friends with. I saw so many people appointed as elders, even really, in their 18, 19, 20 years old, being appointed as elders, and it was all who you knew, who you hung out with. If you were in the right crowd and they liked you, oh yeah, you could move up depending on the congregation, especially if elders were really needed. And when I was a teenager, we kind of went through a phase. I noticed that they were short on elder body. Like some congregations only had 2 elders, and and some congregations had 8 to 10 elders. It was crazy. And so the ones that needed elders desperately, oh yeah, if you were in the right clique, you could become an elder at a very young age, and you thought you were all that, And those, unfortunately, when you don't get promoted for the right reasons, and you get that elder on a judicial committee, and they're going off of ego, power tripping because they're an elder, a lot of times you're not going to get a fair deal if you happen to be in a judicial committee with elders like that, because Holy Spirit has nothing to do with it.
No, it doesn't.
It's all about judging,
You're more skilled if you're not in the good old boys club, because there is one. If you can almost get away with it. I'll give you for an example. I got disfellowshipped twice for smoking marijuana, and there's a presiding overseer. What is it called now? Coordinator of the elders, but you know what I'm talking about. He had a son a little older than me, and I like another guy, we're smoking weed together, and it's like he doesn't get busted because he does it sometimes, and anytime that kid has been brought into the room, the judicial committee, nothing sticks to him. It's like Teflon. It's just nothing. And there's a lot of people that have that. My grandfather was an elder, and I never got that treatment. I don't know. But
wow.
It really is a good old boys club. I mean, the things that you could get rid of. One thing that happened to us one time was a couple got married, and I was friends with the guy that got married, and they had a kind of a ghetto wedding. I talked about it once on Six Screens on Anne Marie's show, and there was no food at this wedding, and it was Friday night. And we all got out of work and were starving. And there was basically some appetizers, but no solid food, nothing, shrimp cocktail and stuff like that. Nothing, and not enough of it. And on top of that, there was bottles of booze. There was wine, a lot of wine at the table. And then there was spiked punch. And everybody got bombed, even the oldest sisters. I'm talking 80-year-olds getting hammered, can't drive home. And what they did with it, it's not that so bad that happened. I mean, it was. They weren't responsible. They should have provided food for us. But this happened at the presiding overseer's house and his property area. They're a large family that all live together. So it was part of his property. And they found a nip in the mailbox, and it was me and a buddy of mine. We all right, everybody's drinking. We went to the liquor store and got a little thing of Sambuca and hit it, and I threw it in the guy's box. And they had what do you call it when they have a talk about a local needs about drinking? And then this congregation, they straight up banned drinking from social events. So we at that point forward, you would have my family included and friends of the family, all kinds, old timers drinking we're teenagers into a seltzer can, pouring our booze into a seltzer or a Coca-Cola or whatever, and hiding it from them in a social event. Well, how ridiculous. When I was
growing up as a teenager and got into about 18, I was living in Santa Cruz, California, and I shit you not, there was a wedding every single weekend, and it was predominantly, we had a Hispanic, the Hispanic congregations were huge back then. And so we were, us from other congregations, English speaking congregations, we got friends with some of the Spanish brothers and sisters, and so we were constantly getting invited to weddings. And before you know it, every weekend was going to a wedding. And I tell you what, I think I was 18 at the time, and I was going to these Spanish weddings, and the women, they were serving alcohol. They had tacos. I mean, when they bring out a wedding, the food was amazing, but they also had alcohol. So you're drinking, you're dancing, you're eating. And I had older sisters. I was 18, so I probably had a sister was in her 30s, man. And she came up to me and like picked me off my chair and was like, let's go dance. And you're talking like, I don't know what kind of dance it was, but you're up close, you're grinding, she's grinding on you. And I'm like, what in the world? I've never experienced this in an English wedding. What the heck is going on, at the reception, but they were wild but everybody, and eventually there was a local needs talk.
No kidding.
It was about dancing. I forgot how they said it. The proper way to dance is there has to be a distance between your body and their body, and then alcohol, obviously.
Oh no!
The funny thing is, I went to a wedding the next weekend. It never changed. It's like they gave the talk to give the talk, so you could say you gave the talk. But the funny thing is, in our congregation, they gave the talk to. There were elders there. And they were at these weddings. They weren't coming up to you and say, hey, you guys are a little close together, or it's inappropriate, or I wasn't called in a back room later on saying, hey, we saw you on the dance floor bumping and grinding. It just, they gave the talk, and that's what it was, and left it as that. It never changed. And I knew people were going home with each other. You saw people getting in cars, single sisters, single brothers, I never did any of that. I just was enjoying the experience of, meeting people from different cultures, because you had all kinds of people coming. These weddings were huge, too. I wouldn't be surprised if there were over 200 people at the reception. I mean, it was like a nightclub.
Ever since, my brother? Did you hear me?
What's that?
I said, have you been addicted to Spanish weddings ever since, my brother?
I was until I think I was 20. We moved to my parents moved, and I ended up moving with them to Oregon, and it was nothing the same after that. Oregon, the elders were I was in Salem, Oregon. The elders were as strict as hell. I mean, if you wanted to have even a get together, elders had to be there. They were watching everything you did. If you were even said, like, a group wanted to get together and say you had fun playing some board games and whatnot, you couldn't have alcohol. If you did, somebody was monitoring you. And then if afterwards they wanted to, some would get together and say, hey, let's study the Watchtower for Sunday. That, I don't know what happened, because people were bringing their Bibles, and there was a big group that wanted to study the Watchtower. And then people would elaborate on the Watchtower, and evidently somebody said something to the elders, and all of a sudden they had a local needs talk about studying the scriptures in private, or they're going to say private. They said that there's nothing wrong with studying the Watchtower ahead of time, but we should use that time as a personal reflection, kind of like you do it in your own home. You don't go to somebody else's home to study the Watchtower. It's like they nipped it in the bud and it stopped. We no longer could get together as a group. And isn't that crazy? I know why they did it when I think about it now, but back then I was like, why wouldn't you be proud of not only getting together and play games and do whatnot, but they were thinking of spiritual. Well, you thought you were thinking spiritually. Let's study the Watchtower and enjoy that time together. No, they nipped that in the bud. That didn't happen again.
No, that's a disfellowshipping offense. Everybody knows
Did you guys ever experience the banning of like laser tag? Well, anyways, I was having a.
Understand that.
Oh, sorry. Did you ever experience like the elders banning something like laser tag, something innocent like that? Because I was talking to Brad from Australia one time, and it was banned for him too. You know the game laser tag, where they would say
laser tag. Yeah.
It simulates war, and we did it for about 3 months and had the time of our life. And then the elders said nope. They put a squash to it. It's like they go no fun. They slam the hammer down because it didn't even feel like war. I mean, it was all lasers. It wasn't even paintball. I mean, come on.
Mm-hmm.
And then what? We go to video games anyways.
Not just that, but when we moved on to bowling after that, and we all got into being amazing 10-pin bowlers, and then they banned that.
Bowling? Oh my God!
Because your balls were hitting pins, or what?
No,
you can't have girls and boys in the
because other congregations were involved. So
Oh.
we would get young ones from all of the congregations, and apparently that was not allowed or something
So
like that. But they put an end to
like-
laser tag, bowling, movie night, pool
like
night.
league.
If I could go back to the brothers you guys were talking about, the jokes and stuff that were inappropriate, I wonder, not to say this affects everybody, but I wonder if you look at how suppressed we were as Jehovah's Witnesses, depending on the congregations you were in. We're controlled no matter what you do. And then you get married and you think, oh, you got freedom, but then you're controlled. You got bedroom laws, whether a wife can do this or that, or a husband can do this or that. You got all this. You're constantly suppressed. So, and then you got subliminal images. Whether people believe in that or not, they're there. The Watchtower has done subliminal images since the very beginning of their existence. You can find them everywhere. And a lot of them are perverted, sexual, all kinds of shit. So people see these images. It's in their subconscious mind. You're being suppressed spiritually, emotionally, mentally, even physically. So when a person acts out a certain way, how do you know that their psyche hasn't been damaged? That they're just you're almost like a Stepford wife. You're programmed to such a place that when you act out, you kind of wonder, is it a way of trying to, even if it is in a gross or a perverted way, is that person just trying to break free, or are they having a breakdown? I don't know what it is, but I think of me leaving the Watchtower, of how much, I've been out for over 10 years, because I've been on the 6 screens for over 10 years. So I think of the different things that I realize that still surface, and you think you're done with it, you've unraveled it, you've let it go, and you'll notice the programming that's still there. And it's like, okay, so I got to deal with this, but it's consciously being aware of what we've been programmed with, and able to, however a person's able to let it go and move forward in your life. Otherwise you stay a victim in this. And I think that's a lot of the problem, is so many people are still trapped, even they've left, but they're still a victim. The Watchtower still has their claws in them in some way on a subconscious level. And I think that's why so many people struggle, I know I'm rambling on, but it's such a process to unbrainwash yourself for what especially when you're born in. Oh my God, that's all I'd known in my whole entire life,
Yeah, for sure, brother. I understand what you're saying. Sorry. I had to use the restroom, y'all.
I hope I didn't bore you guys with that. It's just understanding what we all went through, and the programming is just it affects people in different ways. You know.
Well, it's hurt us.
I've known people that have been out longer than me, and it's like they're still in it. It's like they never left, and I'm just like, how do you help somebody take their power back and reclaim their identity? You know, because that's what the Watchtower did. They stole our identity. We were known as one of Jehovah's Witnesses. That was our identity. You know,
they stole our identity, and they never let us find out who we really were. You know, I when I got disfellowshipped, I found out, and then eventually, I mean, I've been disfellowshipped twice, but eventually, when so much abuse happened and my family stopped coming around altogether, and you stop going to meetings, you figure out that you have talent that you never had. You know, I can cook really well. It's on both sides of my family, and I've been complimented from my wife that I'm a natural at it. You know, and I enjoy it. And in fact, I would love to go to culinary school, not even to do it as a living, but just to know part of it. You know, we were and we're hold back from that, aren't we, too, brother? Like school. You know, like,
what time is breakfast?
What's that?
What time is breakfast?
When I get off the show tonight, I'm going to make us a veggie sausage and egg and cheese bagel.
Oh, okay.
I'm getting hungry.
Send me the GPS coordinates. I'll be there.
But having to escape my home, and I miss the food in New England a lot. And like Portuguese food, no one even knows what Portuguese is in Tennessee. What's a Portuguese? But there's a lot. I've learned to recreate a lot of dishes, and my point being is, I've learned a lot of things about myself that I kind of am a red-blooded American, and that I agree. I believe in helping others and doing right, and by others, and Jehovah's Witnesses will say, "Oh, well, that's not enough," but it is enough. I really do think, from studying the scriptures on my own, that it's enough to be a good person and to show good positive energy to others and be something for your community, and not just be a self-centered person, somebody trying to. I never strive to get to paradise, and that's something that I don't understand, because my family does, and a lot of Jehovah's Witnesses are doing it for that golden ticket. Excuse me, to get that that paradise deal, and I never served God for that, or do I? You know, I mean, if he wants me there, if it exists, then I'm grateful. But other than that, it's not. I just wanted to make the most of this life and have a good family life. Very simple things. I didn't even want success. Family was all really. And I think the Jehovah's Witnesses keep us off from that, from very simple goals. One of the things that pisses me off the most that the witnesses say is when something finally is not working out right in your favor, and they kind of know it, and they go, "Well, it's in Jehovah's hands now." Oh man, if you that is just, I throw my hands up to that, because it's an FU to all of us, and it's an insult to our intelligence, it's like they get so involved in our lives, and then when something happens and it's not in Watchtower's favor, and they're like, well, just rely on Jehovah. That's really half-assed way of handling an issue, you know. And that's what these guys do. They don't.
Hello, Eric.
Yes, sir. Who am I speaking with?
Yeah, this is Kurt. How you doing?
How you doing, man? Good to hear.
Hey, Daniel. Yeah, I've enjoyed your program. I'm glad you got video now. Video always makes the programs better.
Well, at least my ugly mug didn't crack the screen, right? Right, Kirk? Has anybody's got broken screens at home?
No, you're fine. You're fine. You got a real good beard going there.
Thank you, sir.
Daniel, where you been? I haven't heard you in a couple of weeks.
I'm here. I'm in Florida right now. I'm in close to Orlando. I went to Tulsa, Oklahoma, I picked up a load, and then I dropped it off in outside of Orlando, and so now I'm in a hotel until Monday to pick up another load. And Monday, I don't know where I'm going, but it's oh my gosh, today was like 89 and muggy as heck, man. I went in my hotel room because I've been driving like crazy through the night, through the day. I think a couple nights ago I drove 15 hours straight, which I'm not supposed to under DOT, but yeah, just something had to be done, and did it, and got into the hotel, and I put on the AC, and I slept almost all day today. I couldn't believe it, man. I needed catch up, I guess, but yeah, so I'm good. I'm outside of Orlando right now.
Yeah,
Where are you?
Go ahead.
I was just
Jehovah's hands. Where are you going Monday?
Yeah, it's Jehovah's hands.
You said you're about an hour from Orlando. My family is from Ocala and Denellen. Are you somewhere near there, or?
I don't know the area real well. I can look on my GPS. I don't know how far away I am from there.
Do you live in Florida, or you drive very far distances?
What's that?
Do you live in Florida, or do you just drive very long distances as a truck driver?
It's OTR. It's over the road. So it's like tomorrow. I mean, not tomorrow. Well, I guess now it could be. What are we at? We're at Sunday. Monday, I could be taking a load to Texas, or I could be taking a load to Alabama. I mean, like I said, I was in Tulsa a few days ago. So I've never been to this side of the United States. I grew up in Oregon and Washington, and I've been to all over California. I've been to Idaho and so like that, but it's always that part of the United States. This is my first experience of Oklahoma. I haven't been to Texas yet. I'm kind of looking forward to see if I can go there. I've been to Alabama. I've been all over Florida and Georgia, North Carolina, South Carolina. South Carolina was beautiful. Oh my gosh, I saw some beautiful places there. But unfortunately, sometimes I end up driving a lot of time at night, and you don't get to see what you're driving through. You know. I just know when I was told if you gotta pee and you're gonna pull over the side of the road, be careful when you do it in Florida because a gator could be outside there ready to snap you. So it's like, okay. And watch out for those alligators. You'll be circumcised in a matter of minutes. Seconds.
Well, I hadn't heard you in a couple of weeks. You haven't been on the last couple of weeks, have you? On Six Screens?
I got on Six Screens, I think, last weekend. I don't remember if I spoke. I might have just listened. There was an argument going on. Somebody had said something about a sister being elderly. I think I just listened to that whole thing. The whole thing kind of annoyed me because it went on and went on and went on and went on. I was just like, okay, I understand that it needed to be addressed, but the problem is you get new people coming in, and they come in at the butt end of it. They're going to think, well, this is just a bunch of apostate witnesses attacking each other and can't get along. You know, that's the only thing I worry about. There's nothing wrong with addressing an issue. If somebody does something and you talk about it, there's nothing wrong with that. But when it keeps going on and on and on, it's like we got to pick it up and just run with it and change the conversation and then bring it back into the positive. You know, that's just my personal feeling, because you don't know who's new, who's listening, and you don't want them to just be turned off and think it's just a Jerry Springer show and get off the call. You know what I'm saying? Because we're here to help each other. That's just my 2 cents.
Yeah, that had to do. Yeah, I hear you. That had to do with.
Hello?
David.
Yes, sir.
David. Go ahead, yeah.
Hi, this is Whitney from New York City.
Hi, Whitney from New York.
Hi. How's everybody?
We're doing good. How are you doing?
Okay. Hello, Daniel.
Hey.
Hey, how are you?
I started working again, so yeah, I'm doing all right. So
okay, that's great. I've been listening for a few minutes, and Kurt too. Hi, Kurt. I just wanted to just I didn't mean to interrupt, but I just wanted to piggyback on what you're saying about everybody's trying to get along and think positive, and that's true because that we should, we're former, members of that cult, that we should, at least consider that because I was told and I was shown by a relative the last week's Watchtower that the organization was considering on Sundays. It showed something about Jesus was saying about being identified by the love that they have amongst each other. This person showed me, well, two of them showed me some information that really they said was disturbing to them. That what the organization wants the witnesses to do, that if they have any conflicts or any disagreements or difference of opinion with each other, it used to be that they especially when it was the old GB like Swingle and Sitlick and Schroeder and all of them and Franz and the rest of them, it used to be that they could apply Matthew 5 verse 23 and 24, where if there's any problems or anything between each other, they could just take their go in and make peace with their brother before they take whatever they need to take to the altar. Try to resolve or diffuse any problems. Nowadays, it's like, oh, well, and I think it's this, governing body is telling them that, well, you shouldn't even bother talking to your brother and sister about the situation because it may make things worse, and it may make things worse to the point that they will think that you're the problem. Maybe you are too overly sensitive and you're making a mountain out of a molehill. So when I read that and we were discussing it, I was like, but wait a minute. I said that they've always before, the organization always told everyone to try to apply Matthew 5. Let's, try to, get some peace going and call it a day. Next, they don't want anyone, whether you have a problem with anyone, no matter what their privilege or privilege or what you call title is, to even say anything. They don't want you to say anything.
See, this goes back to what I was saying earlier, how we've been suppressed as being a Jehovah's Witness. So now this is another subject matter. You can't even follow the scriptures. If say this was the true religion, which we know it's not, but let's just say hypothetically it was. Now you're being suppressed once again. If somebody has done something against you, you just got to keep it to yourself. But like a brother said before, wait upon Jehovah. It's another F you in the face, and now you're suppressed once again. What do you think when you're constantly suppressed and suppressed and suppressed? What's that going to do to an individual? Eventually, they're going to act out one way or the other.
Oh, yeah.
They bring a gun in and start shooting up the congregation.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. They're going to break forth and they're going to fuck it. Excuse me. Sorry, Rick and Susan. But they're going to say, F it, or I'm going to take matters in my own hands. And it's going to be more disastrous than what it is. They're going to have what you call a meltdown. They're going to have a meltdown.
I don't even see the point of taking a Bible to the Kingdom Hall. I don't even see the point of taking a Bible to the Kingdom Hall, because if you thought you were Christian, if you thought you were in the one true religion, but you can't even apply the scriptures. In reality, if you saw that you should be applying the scriptures the way that it's written and said, but it lined up differently than what you're being taught, that's what's going to happen to you if you follow down that path. So you might as well leave your Bible at home, come there, plug yourself in, be in the Matrix, and download whatever they need you to download, and you walk around like a robot, because that's exactly what we were, and they are.
Desperately. We were a bunch of Stepford people in that organization. I have to agree with you. We're a bunch of Stepford people. Mindless drones.
Yep. It's like the moment that you make sense to them, they shut down. It reminds me of a lyric in the song, If you talk enough sense, you will lose your mind. And it's like we are losing our minds over it as well, because we're making so much sense to people who can't appreciate sense or can't deconstruct it, can't think for themselves, can't make sense of sense. Hell, they're told not to make, if something doesn't make sense, to listen to the governing body no matter what, you know. I agree with all.
Like when you talk to a witness and they're sharing something with you, whether they know you are a formal witness, or even say you're talking to a family member that is a witness and you grew up in it. But this is what I've noticed. It don't matter if it's a friend, a family member, or somebody on the street that's a witness. If you actually use logic, you could even use their own Bible and share stuff with them. They'll listen and engage you for the first maybe 5 minutes. And all of a sudden, it reminds me of a robot. Overload, going into self-destruct mode in 5, 4, 3. They shut down. It's like they can't. Why I say the robot is because you don't realize how intense that programming is, and how red flags have been taught to them. Is, oh, if somebody says this, oh, if somebody says, so kind of like the reasoning from the scripture book. You know, they had ways to look at what somebody might say to you, and this is what you would say back. They've got that so imprinted in their head. If you say something that's not in the script, it's like, shut down. You know, I'm exhausted. You know how many times my parents or friends would say, and we'd only been talking for a few minutes, and I would share different things using their own Bible. I'm just so exhausted by this conversation. We're just going to have to agree to disagree, as this is so exhausting. And I'm thinking to myself, my life is in your hands. It is so valuable. How are you so weak? How are you so quick just to be exhausted? We gotta quit talking. I was just like, are you for real right now? Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. I didn't say that, you know. I'm not going to be rude to my own family and stuff like that. But it's just like, they have to be the weakest people I know. Unless you're going along with what the governing body says, they shut down so fast. It's amazing.
That's true.
But it shows you programming works.
It does. In fact, the Watchtower comes out and says you'll enjoy this fine program. Like they don't even try to hide it. They call it a program, and that's exactly what it's doing. Just like a TV program, it does the same thing. I always thought when I was leaving Watchtower, when they started getting into the televangelism, basically, because that's what it is. I said, this is getting very dangerous for all of us and everybody in, because I knew from Alex Jones and from just other content creators and people, David something, I can't remember his name, but there's a lot of people out there that think deeply, and they teach you to see the bullshit in almost anything, and Watchtower's got a bunch of, and they're peddling it on us, and it's not making sense, and then we're being demonized because we're able to critically think for ourselves. It's really unfair, you know. But I guess that's life. Sorry, I digress a little bit.
Unfair, but it's unfair, but it's beautiful at the same time, because the reason why I say that is, yes, I still got family in, and I'm being shunned. And I'm not even disfellowshipped. I've been disfellowshipped before, but when I left this last time, I just faded out. And I'm not disfellowshipped, but I'm being treated as I am anyway. So it doesn't really matter. I got the same label on me. But my point is to wake up. That's the beauty of the 6 screens. And meeting all of you guys that I had met years ago, I thought I was literally losing my mind. I thought, why do I have these questions? Why do I have these doubts? And every time I go to a meeting, it was like, if you have doubts, it's Satan trying to creep in, it's this and that. And, you know, you start to feel like, okay, I'm looking around all these people in the Kingdom Hall. I'm thinking, is there anybody here that is thinking secretly in their head what I'm feeling, and I started talking to my parents because I thought I didn't go to anybody in the congregation. I surely wasn't going to go to the elders. Over 1914, over the generation change thing, over disfellowshipping, over, I didn't know about the child molestation at the time when I was in, but I had all these other questions. And so I went to my parents thinking, okay, I'm thinking to myself, you raised me this way. This has got to be the safest place to go and ask questions. My parents were fine in the very beginning. But when they would email me Watchtower, the funny thing is they wouldn't quote me scriptures. They would send me copies of paragraphs from the Watchtower or from Awake magazine or from another publication. And one time they said, this is towards the end. They had me come over to their house. I sat down with them in the living room, and they said, we're really concerned about you. And I said, okay. I mean, what are you worried about? And they said that we think you're heading towards apostasy. And I said, why would you say that? And they were like, because we send you these all the answers in the publications, and you still come back with the same questions. And I said, because it's not satisfying my spirit. It's not making me feel like, oh, okay, this makes sense. I understand now, And so they wanted to offer me. They go, your dad and I have been talking. We want to offer you a Bible study. And I was like, oh, okay. I'm baptized, but hey, it's my parents, And so, and I said, you know what? I would accept that. I said, I just have one condition. And they looked at each other and looked at me puzzled and said, well, what is that? I said that we study the Bible and the Bible alone. No publications, just the Bible.
Drop Mike.
My dad got irritated. My mom was the one that did most of the talking. My mom, she was just like, Daniel, that these are just Bible aids. They lead you. Every paragraph usually has a scripture. I said, Mom, you're offering me a Bible study, and you're wanting to use uninspired literature for me to understand the inspired Word of God. I'm asking for you to use the inspired Word of God and not use uninspired words of God as part of the study. I don't understand the problem.
Yeah.
I just want to study the scriptures. We could even make subjects, like if you want to say, if you ask me, what is your most concern? So what subject matters would you want to study? What do you need answers for? And we write them down, and then we take subject by subject, Never had a Bible study from them. They never, after that, which I did not know, they went to the elders and said, our son has gone apostate, and he needs to be shunned. The elders said to them, which I'm amazed, I'm going to give these elders kudos because I thought I was going to be disfellowshipped. The elders said to my parents, hey, who else is he talking to? His brothers and sisters? I'm the oldest of 5, so is he talking to his other siblings? No, not that we're aware of. He goes, well, he's not talking. We have not heard any complaints from the congregation. He's not talking to them. He's not talking to us. So he's coming to you as his parents, is what we're kind of seeing. He's wanting answers. And they said, yeah. That's not an apostate. If he was trying to be an apostate, he'd be talking to everybody he could get his hands on and causing dissension in the congregation. He's not done that. He's not even talking to his own brothers and sisters. So what you just need, yes, he needs to figure this out and figure it out quickly before it progresses to something else. But he says, they said right now we would not disfellowship him for that. And what happened is my parents went home from that night, called a family meeting, which is my other siblings, and said that Daniel has gone apostate. Regardless of what the elders said, they shunned me on their own. To me, that is crazy. I would have thought the elders would have said, yeah, he's asking questions and blah, 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 whatever. No, it was my own parents This shows you how brilliant the Watchtower is. They got you so brainwashed that even if the elders don't even have to do anything, your own family members will turn against you on their own.
Yeah, they will.
Brainwash you.
It's a really sad thing too. But like Watchtower has really ruined, the minds of everyone. My mother-in-law, she seems to be. I got a note here about her. Yeah, she seems to be everybody's conscience. Anytime something's going on, even if it's just a movie or a TV program, oh, Jehovah wouldn't like this. She's everybody's conscience for them, and it's exhausting, and she's mentally unhealthy. And these are the type of people that Watchtower are producing. They're scared of losing their life over the most stupid things. My mother-in-law, when she was working before she got disabled, she told the group of people that she was working with that were cussing, and she said, "Can you please not cuss?" And you're actually telling somebody how to talk. I mean, really. And I don't personally have a problem with swearing because I don't view it as abusive speech. I think that if I was to say Daniel's a real jerk and he's this and that and blah, 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 or Eric is a real jerk, anybody that talks like that and call you names, that's more of abusive speech, not just hitting your hand with a hammer by accident when you're putting a nail in and saying, "Oh, bleep," But
exactly.
I thought I'd bring up this story of this guy. He's from Rhode Island. I'm going to do an impression of him because he's like the mascot of Rhode Island. And he was a master of, what is it called? Many trades, but a master of none. I can't remember the expression. And he was doing some construction work, and I was working on a job with him, and he was telling people, oh gee, don't say effing. Instead of saying effing, say stinking. And you'd be like, come on, guy, say stinking. And the same guy would say, hey, instead of saying effing, say stinking. Well, he hits no, he doesn't hit his hand. This is what happened. He set up the framework and everything to put in the sheetrock, and it was all crooked and off. And he goes, shit. And there was a worldly woman that was the customer there, and she goes, I thought Jehovah's Witnesses don't swear. See, it's not her being a jerk to us. We put ourselves in that situation. We're all human. It just comes natural. We're in a bad situation. And if anybody out there agrees with cursing is bad, I'm sorry if we have a difference of opinion, and I'll keep my cursing down, of course. But I just see it as imperfect human nature, and I don't think it's a God issue. But like, who are we to tell the world or the rest of everybody else who isn't a Jehovah's Witness what to do with themselves when we're all so messed up? Was just a point I was going to make.
I wish cursing, brother, was the least of our problems. I wish that was if that was our biggest issues in the world today, then my God, I'd be happy to say every swear word in the book.
I know, I'm bringing up a petty topic for sure.
It's crazy what people make a big deal out of. I know in certain contexts you be careful what we say, but it's just sad. It's just this world has really shifted in the last few years to where I think back when I was a teenager, we played outside until my mom would call us in. It's because it's dark outside. Time to come outside, playing outside, building stuff, doing stuff. Yeah, did I get bullied in school? I got bullied in school because I was primarily, in some of the years where we lived at, I was primarily in a Hispanic school. So I was very few a white person. I got bullied, picked on, beat up. And then on top of, I was a Jehovah's Witness. So whenever there was Mother's Day, Father's Day, or Thanksgiving, anything to do with school, I got sent to the library or I got sent to the back of the classroom and was doing my own thing. So kids laughed and made fun of me. I never thought about going and hanging myself. I never thought about going and killing myself. Was I upset? Did I feel a certain way? Yeah. But this generation, it just blows my mind that over COVID, we were locked up and this and that, and the kids are killing themselves or they're suicidal. And I'm like, what the hell has shifted? Or not even just the Watchtower, the whole, at least in the United States, I don't know what it's like in other countries, but the United States, it's like, I hope I don't offend anybody by saying this, is people have become a bunch of pansies. Where did we lose our grip on ourselves, where did we let ourselves go? We went sideways very quickly, if you notice that. In the last, I would say, especially in the last 2 or 3 years, it has went sideways where people are offended by this or offended by that, and we're all hypersensitive. And I'm like, I wouldn't have survived my teenage years if I was that hypersensitive, because of the things that we went through, the things I went through in school, things I went through in my home life. I would have hung myself if I had that same mentality as where we're at today. I don't get it. I don't get where the world just went a flipping shift all of a sudden, that it's just upside down. I travel doing expedite deliveries. I travel across the United States, or I should say this part of the United States, and you just see all kinds of stuff, and people are shooting people. I'll be in my hotel and just happen to flip on the TV and find out there was a mass shooting down the street from where I'm at, or there was a stabbing here or there. I'm just like, what the hell's going on?
Do you feel like it's dangerous to be a truck driver these days?
What's that?
I was saying, do you feel like you do truck driving, right? Do you feel like it's dangerous these days? You got riots and stuff where they shut down the highway. I've seen, and you're just trying to get to work. To what you're saying, times have changed. I see on YouTube all the time guys just trying to get, excuse me, guys just trying to get to work, and there's like some kind of protest. You don't shut down a highway. That's not the way to do it. You have no right to. I know that's a minor subject, but the world is going crazy. I agree, and it's not just Jehovah's Witnesses. We're losing what we were as Americans. You talk about us being soft or pansies. Yeah, we are. We're becoming a nation where you can't change your own tire anymore. I get it
It's gotten bad. It's gotten bad, and I just I refuse to change with it. I won't. I'm going to stay the person who I am. I want to be that same loving person. Like it or not, this is who I am. I ain't going to give in and change with this, because where they're going is not a healthy place. Where we're at politically, where we're at mentally and emotionally, it's people you're losing friendships over political shit. Back in the day, you wouldn't even think anything of it. You might disagree with each other, but you ain't gonna lose a friendship over who you voted for or who you're with. It has gone retarded. It's like you left the Watchtower and jumped into a pool of, I don't even know, brainwashing all over the place. It's just, maybe it's because leaving the Watchtower, and once you wake up and realize how bad we were brainwashed, and you look at these last few years, the country is being brainwashed, and everybody's being divided. Which line are you going to stand on? Who are you with? Who are you going to vote for? You're going to vote for that person. Well, shit, you take me off your friends list. You know what I'm saying? It's like we've gone so upside down that we've become so weak that we're just asking for China to come in and take over. We're just asking for a bad experience. It's like, might as well just bend over and grab your ankles, because that's what you're asking for. Unless we shift this, we got to get out of this funk. It's kind of like if you have a bad day, you wake up and you're in that funk. If you don't shift out of that, your whole day is going to be crap. Until you realize, okay, yeah, I woke up on the wrong side of the bed. Okay, got to do a shift here. That's where we're at. we got to do a shift and realize this is not a good place. So I don't know what the answer is 100%, but we got to shift this, because it's pretty soon we're not going to be just talking about ex-Jehovah's Witnesses on here or ones that are coming out. It's going to be much more serious events going on in our United States of America. You know, that's what I'm concerned about.
There's one thing that you didn't mention that we lost. And if you did, I'm sorry, but I didn't hear morality. I feel like that's a big part of society's problem right now, as a whole, and not just Jehovah's Witnesses, but as a whole, morality.
No, you're
not
right.
The world is losing the morality, but America certainly is, and Europe, a lot of parts of Europe and other countries, and some countries are resisting it, like Russia. China will not allow certain feminine men or characters be portrayed in Disney films, even though they kind of run Disney in a way. There's even a shout out to China that's in Chinese at the end of every Disney credit on their platform. There is evilness and something turning in the world, and there is an agenda to make. I mean, think about it. If you make the men of this great country soft, who's going to protect it? If everyone's soft that lives here, who's going to protect this nation from a strong nation? Won't, because China won't allow.
Exactly.
So they're toughening up.
You're 100% right.
And Russia doesn't want Jehovah's Witnesses not because they're evil, and I don't agree with them torturing them or giving them their victimization that they want or their persecution that they want. However, Russia wants a strong country. They want strong. They realize that a strong country means strong families. You have to have a strong family unit. What does Watchtower do with the family unit? They destroy it, and they're extremists for it, and they don't want their country. And I don't blame them for at least not wanting them, their religion in their country. I do not agree with them hurting them and torturing them. That's disgusting. There's other ways to deal with it.
Right.
But can't we understand why a country wouldn't want such an extreme cult? It's not even a religion. Your belief doesn't even follow Jesus, and they know it because they never banned the Bible. They didn't. They just banned Jehovah's Witnesses from work. But thought it was something interesting.
I'm going to say something because it is late night hours, and because this could offend some people. But I would ask before you get offended what I'm saying, please listen to what I'm saying. With this whole thing going on with Donald Trump, let me tell you why this is so very dangerous. I don't care if you love the man or you hate the man. It's not necessarily even about Donald Trump. It's what's being done to another human being. Now, somebody could argue the case, well, he did this, so he deserved this, and blah, 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 blah. No. You got to watch and see exactly what is going on, the time frame that it's going on, why it's being done, because there are other people that are high up in the government that have done far worse than him. I'm not saying he didn't do anything wrong, but I'm saying is if you're going to go after him, there are other people that's not, the evidence is there and nothing's happening to them, okay? I won't mention names, but what I'm saying is if Trump, he's already been indicted, if he's arrested and actually put in prison or whatever, we're in a dark place. And what I noticed is for the first time, even Democrats are saying they don't like Trump, okay? But they're even starting to say, this isn't right. This shouldn't have been done this way. This is because everybody recognizes when that power shifts and you're able to take somebody like Trump and do what you're going to do to him, none of us are safe. That's where our freedoms continue down the path that we've been going down for the last 2 or 3 years. The shift that I've been seeing is we're going to be like a third world country before you know it. We ain't going to have any freedom. We're going to, before you know it, our money is going to be crypt. It's going to be, they can actually access your digital income and say, oh, you said this or you said that, we're going to fine you, or we're going to freeze your account. We're going to do this. People don't realize what is going on in front of right in front of our face. And they just think they want to hate Trump. Don't fucking hate Trump. If you want to hate Trump, fine, but look at what is actually going on. Take Trump out of the picture. Look at what's being done to another human being that is going to shift the paradigm to what could be done to us. It's about freedom. It's about everything that's lining up with these people, whether they're in a secret society or whatever they're in, this new world order. We're shifting to that direction. This isn't conspiracy thinking. It's time for us to wake up and realize what is happening right in front of our face. That's what scares me the most, because you get on a call like this, we're XJWs, we've been hurt, we've been whatever, and then people go on in their life and they choose this and choose that, and they become hypersensitive. So if you say the wrong thing, oh, I voted for Trump, oh my God, you lose half your friends. You know, and it should not be like that. You need to look at what is going on. Not necessarily who it's being done to, but in this instance, who it's being done to actually shows you if they do something horrible to him, you know what direction we're all headed towards. We have to put a stop to this somehow, because we ain't going to have no freedom. We won't even. How do you know our call won't be censored on 6 screens? And pretty soon we will have to choose our words, because it's on YouTube, to where we can't say anything about anything. We're just basically talking like robots, and you have to use secret coded words to communicate to each other. Otherwise, we'll be fined or taken off the air. Or, that's where we're headed. We're going to be China, basically. Maybe.
Well, we are headed there, because they're already censoring Rick. They've done it to him a couple times about the jab. You know, I won't get into that, but it's happening. You know, you're not off point at all. Is it Daniel? Is that your name?
Yeah, Daniel.
Okay, got you, man. You're making a lot of good points tonight. You really are. I agree with you. I really do.
It scares the shit out of me, to be honest with you, because okay, you go back 3 or 4 years ago, I came on the 6 screens, and I was just sharing, you know, I'm an empath, so I tend to, you know, there are a lot of people that are empaths, but I didn't know I was an empath until a few years ago. But you tend to feel things, and you take them on, and you don't even know what you're feeling. And when I started to pay attention and learn to meditate a little bit and feel what I was feeling, I feel like we were going to be attacked by China and Russia. And then I said something, and I guess I came across as kind of a doomsday messenger, and people didn't like that. So, but I was just simply sharing because it was bothering me. I've been sitting with this for months, you know. It's like, why am I feeling this way? And then I started to see stuff on the news and different podcasts as what was going on. It was the same thing that I said. So then all of a sudden, a month later, I felt like, oh shit, it's not going to be just Russia and China. It's going to be North Korea and, what's the other country that's trying to, Iran. It's going to be Iran. And then here just probably, I don't know, a couple months ago, they were talking about how China has made a deal with Russia, and how North Korea and Iran are trying to make a deal for them all to come in together and basically come out the United States. And I was just like, that's exactly what I've been feeling. I've been watching this unfold in front of my eyes. And that's what trips me out, is because we got to figure out somehow to shift this paradigm, because otherwise we're heading down a reset, you know, basically is a massive reset, which I do not believe, which I will say this, and this is just my opinion, I do believe we're going to experience a nuclear war. Like, you know, we always think of World War III as, bam, we launch ours, they launch theirs, and bam, we're done, right? No, China wants our real estate too bad for that. maybe Russia hates us and would like to see us wiped off the earth, but China wants our real estate. That's why they're investing so much in the United States. They're not just investing that for a reason. You got to realize they're investing that because they can have their people already here. Do you know how many factories they bought, United States? Do you know how many people that are already in place? So if you ever do an attack, you already have people spread across the United States of America. We already have Chinese troops here. People just oblivious to it. Why do you think they're buying the property, the factories, the farmlands? People are not, they're so sidetracked by this virus and all this other shit. They're not even seeing what has been going on while we were busy over here doing this and that. Guess what was coming into our country? We already got troops on the ground from other countries, and we're just oblivious to it. That's the scary part of it. We got to start waking up. We got to end this whole selling anything to other countries. We got to get America back again. Otherwise, America's gone. It's going to go through a reset. I think we'll take our power back. I do believe that, but we're going to go through a pretty dark time. I really believe that.
One point,
be survival of the fittest.
One point I was going to make, Daniel, about morality, and that we lost it, is that although that I think that we can, as America, come back from this, I don't think it'll happen. And the reason why is because in history, and it's repeated itself many times, has shown that any time a world power starts to lose their morality, like even the Roman Empire, right? Anything society, basically. Once you get to that point where an anything goes society, you lose the structure of the family unit and the structure of a strong nation. You just don't have it anymore. It's been done over and over again. Babylon, all of them. Mm-hmm. I mean, when they got out of control with their morality issues, it's always ended up that way. And if anybody out there thinks I'm wrong, go ahead. But I thought I had that understanding of history, that it seems like when it's an anything goes society, it starts to crumble, and if we can't change our course, I feel what you're saying. I know a lot of people don't like Donald Trump, but he stands for things I believe in more than Biden does. No, and I don't mean to make this political, but it's not even about the LGBTQ or the Black Lives Matter issue. I was paying a lot less money for gasoline, $1.60, I think, in Tennessee, when President Trump was. I'm paying $3.20 now, and if you're in California, God rest your soul, you're paying, I don't know, $5-6 a gallon, maybe more.
Yeah, I pay diesel. I'm paying anywhere. It depends on what state I'm crossing into. Florida is right now. I think I can get it for $3.29 a gallon for diesel, but I was paying $4.99 and another state that I was in. So I try to pick and choose where I fill up.
I've seen it $4.99.
Yeah,
Yeah.
It can be expensive.
Truck drivers or the companies that own them must be greatly hurt by this too, because the diesel fuel is a lot more expensive than, say, even 80 or 91 octane regular.
Mm-hmm. No, and the loads aren't paying as well either. You were happy at $2 and $3 a mile a load. They've dropped in the last since after January. They started to go down to where some loads are 75 cents, some are $1.50. And so you got truck drivers. I'll be parked at a truck stop, and there'll be truck drivers that have been there for a week because it's not even worth starting to go pick up the load to drive it halfway across the United States. By the time they pay their fuel and their insurance and their truck payment, it doesn't make any sense for them to even pick up the load. So thankfully, just here recently, we've found some good deals on loads, that actually paid halfway decent. So I'm hoping It's coming up a little bit because it's hurting the trucking industry big time.
You know,
And
if
you
I could,
think about it, these guys are bringing stuff to Walmart, to groceries, grocery stores. You know, if truckers aren't out there doing it, you know, the prices of what you do have in the store is going to jump up. You know.
Hi,
if I
Eric.
could,
This is
yeah.
Linda.
Hey, Linda.
You're doing really good. You're like waiting for the show to end, and I'm waiting for it to start. So
Oh, you haven't been on yet?
No, she hasn't been. I'm the host.
Oh shoot!
So I called Rick by his phone, and then I called him through Messenger. So I don't know what to do at this point. So
Oh wow!
Oh, knockout or whatever needs to go on. I don't know if you want to join me, or I guess he's the host though. He has to. I don't know how it works. I'm new to doing it live like the.
Okay. So what happens? You know how you were in the back of the studio, and then he'll let you in.
Yeah.
I've been in back studio for an hour now. So
you've been waiting.
Whatever's going. No biggie. I would love to join you. Thank you.
Oh, I didn't know what time I was coming on tonight. I thought it was regular time, but then when I watched his preview, Rick's, and I said, "Oh shit," because he was like, "Eric's show or the Red Pill from the Watchtower will be on at like I think he said midnight his time, which is 11 mine instead of 10." Mm-hmm. But no big deal. I just didn't know. If I didn't see that video, I would have had no idea.
Yeah, thank you for letting me join you. So what are we talking about?
We had a bunch of subjects that we've talked about tonight. Shoot, man. What were we talking about recently? I think a lot about Illuminati stuff, New World Order, and the similarities of Watchtower doing it. And we got off a little bit political too, which isn't always for the program, but it's late night.
Yeah, I hear you. So I'll just listen and chime in when it comes natural. Thank you for offering that. And if you get tired,
I am getting tired soon, but I'll let you know though. Is he not like responding to you? Is that the deal? Were you supposed to come on by now?
Probably asleep.
He's probably asleep, which is understandable because he gets up so early, and then by the time my show starts, which, you know, both of our shows started later tonight. You know,
I mean,
he'll take a nap.
Can you take over without him switching it over?
On your show? Could I take over on your show?
Oh,
yes, but I would have to have.
It would have to be disconnected. Right.
Forgive me, I spoke over you. What did you say?
Oh, I'm sorry. I spoke over you too. I was just saying, so does he have to go into like another program to put you?
And I missed what you said. Can you repeat it?
Oh, does he have to like get another program on to bring you on? Is that the issue?
No. What he does is he gives us a link. Today, I think, was your first time. And then you find yourself at a certain place within the link where you are considered backstage, or like the green room, right? And when we're there, we stay there until he does whatever he needs to do to bring us forward, to bring us to be visual. So he's not there.
Yeah.
To bring me to the live studio, you know, live studio, I would still be backstage. So I thought I could tell you're tired.
Are you on the phone right now?
What?
Are you on the phone right now? Is that how you're talking?
Yes. Yeah.
It's up to you if you want to do it on the phone, if you still want your show, or I'm getting tired. And I was gonna cook a meal eventually, but I mean, if I can keep going a little bit.
Okay. Whatever comes natural to you is okay to me. Thank you for letting me join you. And just when you're tired, we can end this show.
Well, do you mind taking over, to be honest?
Sure. Which would mean that you don't push the red button that says leave.
Okay.
Just kind of.
I'll just
not the red one.
Myself and
yeah.
That's cool.
And then later on, I'm not sure how your show would close down unless you come to it in an hour or so to push the red leave button.
I'll keep an eye on it here and there if that's cool. And because he might
go with me.
switch over, right?
Yeah, if he gets on live and says, "Okay, Faith," I'm sorry, I just said my real name. Okay, Linda.
Is that your name?
Thank you for sharing. Can you say it again slowly? I didn't catch it the first time.
But if he says, "Go ahead and switch over," then I'll go to that link that he has sent me. But I'm just here for now. So if you want to go do what you want to do and just kind of hear this in the background and come to it when you're ready to go to bed and tell me you're done, then you can push that red button.
All right. Is that
And
cool?
the show will end.
The show will end.
Yeah.
Well, thank you. How about I just how about I just end with a few words, and I'll let you take over for a little bit, and I'll do what you said and keep it on in the background, and I guess moderate it or make sure what's going on. But I just wanted to say thank you to everybody. It's kind of hard for me to be live. I don't know. It's a different way of doing things. But I love our community, and Linda James and Joe and Fran and a lot of people have been supportive of me. JP and Brad from Australia, and I could go on and on. Debbie. I met a lot of people, and if I'm forgetting anybody in the moment because I'm nervous, I'm sorry. But it's been a great community, and I'm really glad to be a part of this community. We're all really good people, and the problem with Watchtower is that they're because they can't love unconditionally, because they're blocked, because they don't follow Jesus, they follow the governing body. And that was kind of my theme tonight, was unconditional love. And I feel unconditional love here. I had a family member who is a faded Jehovah's Witness, and the person could give a crap that I was in the hospital compared to the amount of people that talked to me, even every day, some of them, while I was in there, and a family member not calling in 2 weeks or caring what happened to me. And I know the person, and I know that all my family are damaged from this organization and from each other. And I feel bad for any other people out there who have family issues like that too. And this is our family, and we can show them, and we can teach Jehovah's Witnesses what true love is. And I'll leave it up to you, Linda, but thank you so much.
Sure. Yeah, that makes perfect sense. Thank you for letting me join your show and be.
Oh, it's your show. It's all good.
Oh.
And feel after the Watchtower, we can stay on the same subject. I don't really have a subject tonight. I was thinking I was going to open it up to y'all can just ask me anything, like about myself or any subject, and we'll just go from there, because I think we flow like that pretty well.
Well, we're gonna yeah. Hold on 1 second. We're getting ready. Linda, this is Rick. I'm sorry. I kind of missed everything here tonight. I did fall asleep. I'm sorry, but we're gonna end Eric right here. Okay, so we're gonna end.
I'm sending thank you kisses, and I'm gonna say goodbye now and go over to that link that Rick has sent me. Then that's what I should do, right, Rick?
Yes, go to the link. Yeah, you're all set. So we're going to end Eric here. Eric, thank you very much for coming in here and doing your job tonight. Good man. Thank you.
Thank you, Rick. And thank you for everybody for putting up with me. It's always nice being with you all. We had a lot of good conversation tonight, and I'm sure there'll be more to come on Linda's show. Thank you, everybody.
Good. Thank you very much, Eric. Keep waving that flag of victory. So end the broadcast right here. So we're going to do this right now.